Sorry, folks. Today's stream took a little bit. Oh, no, no, stop recording. Don't stop recording. There we go. Hey, folks, welcome in. I mean, I don't know how many folks we have on chat. Sound off. Also, Strobus, hi, welcome in. Lurk away, my friend, please. I hope work clears up for you soon. Apologies again for the delay in joining today's stream. We're starting today's stream. I promised on social medias. Hey, PV, welcome in, friend. Welcome in. By the way, I really liked this. I liked the stream last night. I haven't watched the second half yet. I will catch. I hope the second game went well. I haven't had a chance to catch it yet. I've had a surprisingly busy Thursday. And Ken Doyle, welcome in, friend. Welcome in. Good to see you. And Cat, hi, Kitty. Hi, my cat is here. Everybody, say hi. Look, come on, come here. Come on. You want to come here? Don't. Come on. You're already halfway here. Yeah, I'm gonna pick you up. Oh no, bad dad, why did you pick me up? Haha. anyway, it's been a surprisingly busy Thursday, mostly because it's my mom's birthday. And my mom, it's my mom's birthday. And while my mom is 1,600 miles away in Puerto Rico, I at least gave her a call, spent some time on the phone, and I wasn't going to hang up on her. I wasn't going to mom, I gotta let you go because I gotta rant about the tater pugs for like 5 people online. And while that is true, and I did have to, I'm gonna be honest. Maybe next year. Maybe next year. I will choose chat over family, but not this year. Not yet. Not yet. I don't have enough subs yet to choose chat over family. Is all I'm saying. You see and judge my reasoning as fair. Carry on. And yes, I will send her. I will let her know that chat says happy birthday. So yeah. And then mom finally let me go. So now I'm here. Now I'm here. You may notice, and this is slightly embarrassing, literally wearing same shirt from yesterday. To be fair, I had worked out and bathed just before I put this shirt on yesterday, and then I really haven't sweated since. It's very cool here. So at least I'm not stinky. I look, man. I had to call my family. I had to call my mom. All right, I haven't had time for anything else. That's basically when I say busy Thursday. I just mean my mom. You're just letting me hold you. You're just this is. I mean, to be fair, I'm not fully holding her up. She is kind of resting on my lap, like her back paws are on my lap, and I'm just kind of just holding her up gently rather than a full pickup. And she seems to be fine with this, except it is taking both of my hands to do this, though. Oh, no, there she goes. There she goes. I moved too much. I needed to stay very, very still. She's done. She's done. But that was like one of the longest times she's ever kind of let me hold her. If I didn't know any better, I'd take her to the vet and get her checked out for that. But no, no, she's just been kind of cuddly today. Anyway, how's everybody else's day doing? I hope everybody's day is doing fine. Um, it's Thursday. It's Thursday. We're almost done. I just spent 3 hours with my mom. One of those hours was spent just in general, right? These weren't blocks of time, but I would say by volume, by volume, the content of the call was one, happy birthday, mom. Like that was about a third of it was happy birthday, mom, and how are you doing, and how's their health, etc., etc. Because my mom is, as you can probably guess by the fact that I'm not exactly a spring chicken, neither is she. That said, I don't know. Is it doxing if I say how old my mom is? I don't think so. Look, I understand that normally, you don't talk about a woman's age. Understood. But you look at me. I don't know. Y'all. No, I was about to say, Chad, guess how old I am, but that's just gonna make me feel bad. So instead, I'm gonna make myself feel better or I don't know if that would make me feel better if I actually tell you that I am both younger and or older than you think. I don't know. Point. Okay, look. Okay, we'll leave it at this. We'll leave it at this. My mom just turned the nicest age. Guess it from there, and then do the math in your head as to how old I could possibly be. Um, and leave it at that. But anyway, happy birthday, mom. I know you're watching. Big fan. Um, so what are we doing today? We're finishing up Jiangshi, right? Here we go. Where's the book? Nope, these are the adventures. Wait, did I? Okay, here we go. For a second there, I was like, don't tell me I don't have the book for the game that I'm going to be doing today. But no, I do have the book. There it be. We're gonna wrap up meth. Not even once. Math, even. Not even once. I mean, meth either. Both. Both, honestly. Math or meth. Um, Also, wow, I'm seeing favorites coming in on my announcement for stream. Should I just start streaming at this time normally? Because I'm getting pings at least from the Mastodon of people actually liking my tweet. Or toot, I guess it's on Mastodon. It's a toot. Oh, hey, there we. Okay, wait. That is not okay. So PJ Slinny, welcome in. I don't know why my alert keeps picking the last person that did it, so I'm gonna rerun that for you. Hopefully, it'll still succeed. I'll rerun it manually, and it should pick up your actual name. Thank you for the follow, though. Let me just do that. I don't know why it's broken like that, and I feel bad about it. I feel legitimately bad about it. Ah, crap, where's my deck app? No, I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready. I was not expecting a follow this early. Oh, my God. It's you. It's you. You're the Toot Liker. Well, welcome in, Liker of Toots. There we go. There we go. That should have shown your actual name. I mean, it's still a failed roll, but the fail's mine, not yours. All right, the failure is my own. Congrats. Thank you for the follow so much. You follow the tabletop and use that. Excellent use of that. Good. I should use it more. I need to use the tag more. I am bad for somebody who is legitimately trying to give this a shot as a thing that I do. I'm bad at the digital marketing. So bad at the digital marketings. Okay, so I guess that too is in fact yours. If it feels right, take it, please. If the dice roll fits, take it. Anyway, folks. Oh wait, the one thing I haven't done. Can I edit this? Give me a second. Bear with me. Because I wanted to, okay, let me go. No, I don't want to view the tutorial, skip tutorial. Let me see if I can, okay, manual, set the add length and frequency to manual and change it to run. Oh, come on, can I, is there any way for me to, okay, run basically I wanted to do the 3 minute, okay, there we go, 3 minute ad break every 60 minutes. So hopefully we will have fewer interruptions. Still same amount of delicious ads, I guess. Because I feel like the half hourly interruptions were getting a little bit too just a little bit too much, the half an hour with what I do here is nothing. Okay, so did that just work? Do I have to hit save anywhere? No, I guess not. Let's see. Okay, cool. So we might still get a 3 minute ad in about 20 minutes, I guess, but we'll figure it out from there. Hopefully at that point, we'll only get ads once an hour. Anyway, for those of you who are new on chat, such as PJ Sliny, what I do here in these streams, I'm variety streamer in general, but today, we are continuing. We've been deep diving into Jiangshi, Blood in the Banquet Hall. I usually spend time looking at various indie tabletop RPGs. And I'm just going to go ahead and move over to the overhead so we can continue in our dive. We're actually finishing up. We saw the initials. We've seen the setting. We've seen the game. We've talked a lot about a lot of the safety mechanics and the cultural mechanics and then just the way you approach the game. And just yesterday, finally, at the end of the stream, we caught up with the actual mechanics of the game, and we took a very quick look at them, but then we paused because we were out of time. Today we're just going to keep going for a while. The stream started up late, and it will just kind of keep going until I get tired or bored, or I guess 4 hours max have passed. But either way, we're just going to kind of keep going. So let me switch over to the overhead again. For those of you who are new, you're going to see that I'm going to change into, in fact, I'll give you a preview. Here we go. So this is my for lack of a better term, my VTuber avatar. It's just a moth in a lamp store. The reason I'm about to switch over to that when we do the overhead, let me just hit the button and go. Here we go. Is because this overhead where you see my hand here, is over to the side. So when I turn to look at it and look at the book and look at all this stuff, why is my weed vape here? You don't need to see that. That's mine. But the reason that I have it up is because I have to turn and face and look at here. And that means that camera that you were looking at before is not capturing my beautiful visage, so it becomes necessary for me to go moth so that you're not just looking at an empty camera space over there in the top corner. That's it. I kept saying that I'm going to fix that, and I have a fix for it. I just haven't gotten around to it, and as I said earlier, 'twas my mom's birthday, and that took priority, other rather than setting up. As you can see by the huge, Jesus Christ, this is okay. I blame the cat. Why is everything out of order here? Let's just rearrange here a little. All right, let's get to it. Do I have visibility on chat? Yes, I do. Let's adjust a few things. And do I have visibility on the timer? I will once I move my little screen over here so I can actually see the timer. No, no, stay, stay, stay. Wait, wait. Oh, let me see. No, it's good. Yeah, it's just kind of showing. Oh my God, too many things. Okay, never mind. The timer's going to go over here. We're learning as we go. Okay, Jiangshi, Blood in the Banquet Hall. So, funnily enough, the first time you see the mechanics in this game, I mean, I guess you do get some guidance on this GM section, which again was one of the first times that I've seen the GM guidance section actually come before character generation. Kind of wild, but at the same time, kind of makes sense for this game. And we were introduced to the general gameplay. So this game, again, for those of you who are new to the stream, I'll try and recap a little. But what we've seen is you're seeing a lot of little fiddly bits, right? This game came in a box, and there's the rest of the box over here, the dark side of the box. Anyway, because it brought all sorts of fiddly bits. It's got spirit paper pads. It's got all sorts, like three separate decks of little square cards. It's got an actual board, like a board game would, with specific sections and everything. And I even got the deluxe version that has the cloth board for portability. It's got a lot of board game elements, yet it is very much a tabletop RPG at the end of the day. But it almost feels like some kind of board game slash tabletop RPG hybrid in its own way, because the board game mechanics effectively just guide you through scene by scene of the tabletop RPG play. In which case, again, for those of you who are new, have not seen the previous streams, and have no idea what I'm talking about because we just kind of dived into this bit, Jiangshi, Blood in the Banquet Hall is a table. In fact, we'll just read the back blurb right here, quick and easy, and does a better job than I could. Jiangshi, Blood in the Banquet Hall, is a collaborative storytelling RPG set in 1920s Chinatown. It's about a Chinese-American-Canadian family making a living by running their restaurant and showing resilience during hard times. Despite societal backlash and anti-Chinese laws, they have turned a profit and their quality of life has improved. Until now. Night brings a new terror, and the family must come together to survive. Players take on the roles of family members, spanning 3 generations, who face the supernatural threat of the Jiangshi, hopping vampires by night, and oppression by day. Players must balance the responsibility of running and maintaining their family business with protecting themselves and their community from the dreaded Jiangshi. So that's the core, that's the concept of the game, and we've seen that, and honestly, the game, from everything we've seen, does a very good job of setting that scene. But at the same time, that job seems to be mostly imposed, or I guess, how can I put this? This is a game, since it takes place despite the presence of supernatural elements like the Jiangshi and Wu sorcerers and stuff, it still takes place specifically with a real world culture in a real world time. The setting of this game is basically the 1920s America, Chinatown, primarily San Francisco Chinatown, but also New York City Chinatowns and several examples of different Chinatowns throughout the U.S. It is a rather U.S. centric game because it's specifically telling stories about sort of Chinese family and immigration into the United States during that specific period of time. So if it feels a little US centric, that is because it is, but it is because it's trying to tell a very specific story. Good slash downside on that is that if you yourself are, like I was, are not entirely familiar with that story, I myself have no Chinese ancestry, and my knowledge of Chinese history is incredibly vague, if non-existent, right? If we were going to give it a rating in an RPG, it would be a 0. Like I have not spent any XP on raising my Chinese lore in any way, shape, or form. So I came into this game learning a lot of stuff for the first time. And while this book definitely has a lot to teach, it also feels a little bit like how can I put this? It feels a little bit like uh, it's going to be a lot of work for a lot of players. It's going to be, unless players know, because the game works best, or at least it feels like it will work best with people who have this knowledge, who are aware, depending on the story they want to tell, of a lot of this Chinese American history. Or at least you need at least one or two players that have it, and you can play some younger characters that are more Americanized and everything, but still, the story that you're trying to tell is the story of Chinese American or Chinese Canadian immigrant families, multi generational, and specifically running a banquet hall, a restaurant, and the flow. Like basically, the gameplay itself takes place by using this board. You have a family pool of dice. Where are my dice? Here we go. A family pool of dice. One, two, three, four. That's seven. I think it's seven that you start with. Starting there in the morning, and as the day progresses, they move around this clock, and then the next day, one of these dice goes away, and you continue, and so forth. Representing your family's level of energy, and you're working with these cards as you go that represent, for example, let me get some of these restaurant cards here. Yeah, here we go. So they represent challenges that cover up these various tasks here. So, for example, it might be no steam dishes, or rather, a task: get steamer ready, which takes 2 hours. And if it's not completed, the penalty for that is that there are no steam dishes and no afternoon service. And also, it would cover up one of these spaces. Each of these spaces has specific in-game effects, and if they are being covered effectively, then you cannot use those effects. So there is a game-specific reason for doing these errands. Your character sheet, which very interestingly and very amusingly are given in little dry erase sheets, and the game comes with dry erase markers, which for Chinese banquet halls also makes sense if you've seen the menus there. But you notice that your stats, your character sheet also has like 1 hour of work, 1 hour of work, half an hour of work. It presents your character's ability to perform these various tasks that they have to do, and as they themselves suffer consequences from various events and tasks, they may also receive Jiangshi cards, which are here we go, yeah, Yangshe cards, which would cover up those skills. So a character who is attacked by a Jiangshi and suffers the first level of damage would receive a Dazed and Confused card that would cover this right here, which means that their everyday item and the in-game effect that has, which is a specific in-game effect that you can do, you can re-roll your highest die once a day by using your everyday item. Well, while this effect is in place, you lose that. And also, you have less energy, so there's one less hour of capacity for completing tasks. So as the game progresses, if your characters are being attacked by the Jiangshi and basically not making rolls, suffering consequences, etc., it's going to become harder and harder for them to keep the restaurant running, which will make the Jiangshi attacks in the night more complicated to deal with. We know all of this. What we don't entirely know, actually, no, we do know because we saw this yesterday. What we didn't know until the very end of the stream yesterday was, cool, I see the game flow, but how do I actually know if I succeeded or failed? And so the basic game mechanic as presented in the book, let's go ahead and get to it, here is, here we go, gameplay, places and scenes with NPCs, etc. Challenge rolls. So all this, look at this. It took this long to finally get to the basic mechanic of this game, how you actually do a challenge roll and know if your action succeeded or failed. Most games like to present this somewhere around here. This game very, very confidently waited until 108 pages in to show you how to resolve an action. And I wish I could criticize it for that, but for this game, it's not the worst decision. This game, just because of how much this game kind of requires you to have gone through everything that came before, or at least have some level of familiarity, to even just play it properly, I think. So it's like, okay, now you're ready. You feel confident. You have enough history and enough setting knowledge to kind of confidently, or at least not too terribly play or portray a Chinese American character in this game. Okay, good. Here's how you would resolve an action then. So the explanation is basically these dice here in the middle. This is the family dice pool. We also have additional sort of golden dice. Golden dice are held by individual players. The fourth, this squared, this D4, we don't know what it's actually used for yet. But these golden dice are actually given to players. So if we had 4 players, maybe this player might have 2, 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 and you might be able to spend these. But by default, everybody is just rolling the dice pool here, right? The family dice pool. And if you're going to make a roll, you would go, okay, I grab all these dice. It's the first day in the morning. I roll them all. And then you do what they call cleanup. So cleanup is first. Are there any 4s? This was actually a very good roll. We don't have any 4s. So if there's no 4s, nothing gets eliminated. All of these are kept. So the only thing that you care about is the highest result. And in this case, we got an 8. That little symbol there, which let me see if it's focusing. There we go. That little symbol on the dice. I suspect, not knowing Chinese, I don't know if it is. Maybe it says stupid gaijin. But I suspect that's the kanji for Jiangshi. I hope. Again, it might just say ha 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 stupid gaijin, which fair if it does. But that is also the 8 on these dice, just like it is on the golden dice, right? So point is, I got an 8. So the result of that roll, everything else doesn't matter, was just an 8. Let's do another one just to show what happens if you have 4s. So if we roll one, okay, so here we go. We got at least 1 4. So if you got 1 4, first thing that happens is that 4 goes away, and it takes away out of all of these the highest die. So there's an 8 here, so it takes that away. No other 4, so everything else remains, and you just look at what the highest one is of the remaining. In this case, it was a 7, so 7 was the result of that roll. If you, for example, let's say it's later in the game, right? So the way this works is you have this whole dice pool. For every sort of phase of the day, every player gets to have one action, or one scene, rather. So once everybody has gone around and had one scene in the morning, then the dice pool gets moved over to the afternoon. And now we have a set of afternoon scenes, evening scenes, and dead of night scenes. And then it's the next day. The first thing that happens is one of these dice goes away, and they all move. And so as this all happens, and they go away, there's another day, and the game ends at 5 days. So as you keep going, you might lose. So at some point, you might be rolling only 3 dice, which might suck. In this case, that's not so bad. That's a 7. But again, let's roll again until we get some 4s. There we go. So that 4 comes in, so that goes away, and it takes away that 5 with you. So now the result of that roll was just a 3, right? So you want to have more dice to have better chances. Looks like ads are, according to this, about to start. We'll see. I'll give it a couple of minutes before I do that. Anyway, so at these points, if you have fewer dice, then you might be wanting to use some of your golden dice that your character specifically has. But these are actually spent. So basically, you have these 2 different things in the game might reward you as a character with some golden dice. So let's say whatever roll I was about to make here at Dead of Night is very important. There's a Jiangshi about to eat my face. I need to succeed, so I'm going to take these 2 dice and add them to that pool. And now we roll that. And, our chances are slightly better. That's an 8 on the golden dice and an 8 on the red die. No 4s. So that was a very good result. Didn't really need the golden dice. Actually, we could have succeeded without them, but never mind. But you get the idea. But the downside of that would have been that, sure, I succeeded that, but now these are gone. So until something else gives me more golden dice, I am out of golden dice to spend. Hopefully that explains the basis of the system, or at least as so far as we have grokked it. So the thing is telling me, the alert is telling me that we have to go to ads, which feels like way too early to do so, but sure, why not? Let me go ahead and switch the scene back to my beautiful non-moth face. If my stream thing actually decides to cooperate. Oh, no. Why are you being like this? Bear with me, folks. I'm a goddamn professional. or I would like to think I am. There we go. Finally, I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going on. But anyway, folks, we'll be right back from this. But hopefully, after this, we will have no more ads for a full proper hour. Wish us luck. Until then, however, you know how it is. We will be right back. You know, on the plus side, the countdown is now telling me that the next set of ads is in 1 minute, in 1 hour, sorry. So I guess the fact that we ran a minute and a half when the stream was still in the starting mode upped that all to 3 minutes. I still have to figure out why the hell the button wanted to do a minute and a half, but I guess that's just how it is. But cool, no more ads for an hour. Great, let's get back to the overhead. Woo! All right. Now we can actually focus. So let's actually get back to the book. We've just reestablished our base knowledge of the game, the system. We know how this works. So basically, your results on a 7 to 8, positive outcome for the PC, 5 to 6, somewhat positive, like basically success with consequence on 5 to 6. And then on 1 to 3, negative outcome for the PC. They do not succeed and something bad happens. The fact that I don't see, oh, right, I was going to say, I don't see what happens on a 4. Right, because 4s just go away. You're never going to have 4 as a result. 4s always go away and take something with them if at all possible. And then on a 0, that's a crit fail. So basically, success with consequence, failure with consequence, or rather just failure, honestly. But so failing, though, is what gets you gold D8s. So anytime you fail a roll, the GM, or the DM rather, not really a GM, it's a what they call it? It's guide. No, game manager, game. What is it? Game moderator, I believe, is what they call the position in this game. Let me just double check. We're gonna just keep saying GM anyway because it's easier. But I just want to confirm that it is in fact game moderator or moderators. Moderator guidance. Let's see. Yeah. Cantonese cooking. This whole session in Cantonese cooking. Fiction. Why is it so hard to find it when I actually want to? Okay, here we go. It's actually the page right behind this. Game moderating. Okay, moderator. Great. I know this. Anyway, so interestingly, and this is kind of where we left off yesterday, right? So when you fail on a 1 to 3, so let's do a roll. Let's do a couple of rolls here. Let's see. That's actually a really good roll. That's a 7. So that would have been a positive outcome. Roll again. So this 4 takes away this 5, which leaves us with a result of 2. Okay, that's a bad roll. So that's a negative outcome for the PC. They do not succeed, and something bad happens. And then there's this whole thing about flashbacks and monologues, which is specifically stated to be optional. But then it's not entirely clear if, because then it says like the GM then gives them a gold D8 to add to their individual pool. So failing a roll, uh, with either 1 to 3 or a 0 gets you a golden die to add to your individual pool. But it also says about choosing to narrate a flashback or monologue, and it's not entirely clear from my reading of these rules whether the D8 comes whether, no matter what, or whether you only get that D8 if you do the internal monologue or the flashback scene. Um, Personally, I would personally house rule just because, especially again, for those of you new to the stream, I tend to avoid. I tend to approach a lot of these games from the point of view of someone who might be running them at a con for new players, for people I've just met, etc., etc. Right? So I'm looking at a lot of these games from that point of view of what would I need to do. Do I need to change anything or think about anything in order to make this game welcoming to somebody who has never played it before, that has no idea what it is, that's just sat down at my table, wants to play it, but whatever blurb I gave them is the totality of their knowledge about this game. So I approach it from with that standpoint, and from that standpoint, I feel like I might house rule it that, no matter what, yes, if you fail a roll, you get the golden D8. But at the same time, like I guess it works as encouragement for the players. Like, hey, you got to do this thing. You got to role play a little, and I'll give you this. But I've always felt a little conflicted about that because yes, you want to encourage and reward good role playing, but I always feel a little bit like having to hold a carrot up to players before they'll actually role play feels a little annoying. Um, I don't know. I have mixed feelings about that sort of approach. That said, it's not the worst, and as I've said before, actually on other streams, I am coming from a point of view where I'm a little privileged because I am part of a podcast. Which, by the way, for anybody new on stream, let's see if I don't think Struggle Bus will get to it before I find the button. He didn't. I found the button first. But that is the podcast that I am a part of, Fandible. And so I have the delight and privilege of most of my weekly games being with a group of people who just take to role playing like a fish to water. No worries, Struggle Bus. I know you're busy with work. That's why I'm here. That's why I'm here. Had you not said you were lurking, I would have let you take that. I lie. Um, but point is, I'm lucky enough to play with people who don't necessarily need to be to have a shiny, although they are very pretty, but they don't need to have a shiny, pretty, sparkly golden die literally dangled in front of them before they will break into flashbacks or monologues. In fact, generally, I would say for my particular group, I would hand these out at the beginning, and I would take them away if I need to, just to stop them from monologuing and doing flashbacks at some point. Like this, like no, this is your third monologue this scene. Give me one of your dice back. No, stop it. But that's not how the rules are. That's just my group. That's just my group. Anyway, point is, flashbacks and monologues get you a reward that then you can use for future roles. Perfectly fine. Interesting approach of this is that you apparently the flashback that you set up can be a completely separate scene, can include other players, and doesn't have anything to do with the event, with the failed roll that triggered that flashback. Although it probably should, but it doesn't have to. It can be about anything, which is interesting, kind of wild, but interesting. Okay, modify. So this is where we left off. We have not seen any of this. This is all now brand new from this point on. So let's see. Modifying dice rolls, because one of the things we want to do in any game, the game has already set this is your dice pool. So how do I make up my chances? Because it's later in the game and now we're down to only 4 dice. Already my chances are not looking great. Oh, that's a great roll. Let's do that. There we go. That's a great roll. I'm rolling very well. That's an 8. Let's do it again. Do it again. I'm rolling very well with these eights and no fours. Yeah, wow. This is the game I need to play. Three fives. That's fine. That's an okay roll. One more time. Come on. That's a seven. Yeah, I'm rolling very well. I have gotten not a single four in any of these test rolls. There we go. There we go. That four comes in, takes that eight with it, still rolled a seven. I win. I have broken your game. I'm too good for your game. So I am the wrong example. Let's say it's the very last day. So there's a limit. You can never have less than two dice. Let's say it's the very last day. It's day five. We're down to only two dice. And now at this point, there we go. That is the worst possible roll you can get. That four comes in, takes the one with it. My result of zero. Crit fail. I want to avoid that, right? So how can I do that? What mechanisms does the game give me to keep me from experiencing this? Well, let's find out. Despite living in a land that does not welcome them, immigrants often find a way to succeed in the most difficult situations. Similarly, in Jiangshi, PCs can use their skills, facets, creativity, and determination to rise above their fate. Okay, so before we read all of this, let's see if we already figured out. Because look, I gave Mothership a lot of praise for the fact that their character sheet, well, no, actually. So Mothership's character sheet, the big thing that I praised was that the character sheet itself gave you basically everything you needed to make the character. It doesn't necessarily explain the game itself, but it did give you like basically everything you needed to make a character was already on the character sheet, which was very cool. This one, less of that, but close. But what we do have is that every area, so your everyday skill, so you got an everyday item, you got two skill slots, two facet slots, your English language, dialect language, an heirloom, and your hopes and dreams. These are basically your quote unquote stats in this game, right? Um, and the character sheet does give you some explanation. I'll bring it up to the camera a little bit better there so you can see. The sheet itself, see, has like with your everyday item, you can re-roll your highest die once a day. Skills let you re-roll your family dice pool once a day. Facets let you apply a facet effect once a day. We'll look at what that means. So for example, that one specifically, not clear. What exactly does a facet effect mean? I don't know unless you've already read the book. So it's not quite as good as Mothership, where you can look at it and you know exactly what's happening, but it's close. At least the character sheet itself basically tells you what each thing does, lets you keep track because all these things can be done once a day. Heirlooms, for example, heirlooms let you consult with your ancestor once a day. And we already saw earlier what happens, what this means, that if the heirloom is broken, et cetera, et cetera. But you get the idea. It's pretty well laid out. It's not quite as good as some other character sheets I've seen, but it fits the game. It does a good job. And from this, we already know a couple of things. So we know one way that you can modify a roll. So let's go back to this. So this came out before this happens. You have a few opportunities to modify the roll. One of them, of course, is these golden die. These should have been used before the roll was started. So if I had golden die to spend, I would have chosen to roll the pool with those golden dice and would have gotten something like actually, Jesus Christ, not even the golden dice can save me. That four takes away that seven, that other four takes away that one, and I'm still at zero. So sometimes not even the golden dice can save you. There we go. That's a better roll. So this four comes in, takes away the seven, leaves me two sixes. So the result of my roll is a six, which is a success, but with consequence, right? Not the worst. So that's the first way you can modify a roll to increase your chances. Second way is your everyday item. So your everyday item was explained that it is one of those, it's literally an everyday item. It's a lighter, a pen, whatever, something that you always carry with you. If you can figure out a way that that item would have helped you with that roll, and let's say, for example, we had seen, we did this roll, let's do it with just the two dice for now. Actually, no. Let's go. Okay, so that's an excellent roll. Actually, no. That's not a good one to use your everyday item on. But let's say the other roll, right? The one that we had before, a four and a one, which we're like, ah, fuck, this sucks. I mean, I guess it's good that the four takes away the one because that one wasn't going to help us anyway. But it's not good because now we have zero and we are at a crit fail. So at the very least, I want to avoid that crit fail, right? So with my everyday item, since in this particular roll, right, this had been a 4-8, then the everyday item would have been probably a bad deal because it's reroll your highest die, and I don't want to reroll that 8. I want to somehow get rid of that 4. So the everyday item wouldn't have helped me there. But with this roll, now the everyday item can help me. Reroll my highest die. You mark one use of that item, and you re-roll that 4, and you get another 1. So never mind. It's still, but at least it's not a crit fail. Now it's just a fail. Fail with slight consequence, but fail. And I get to either do a monologue about how much that sucks, or do a flashback scene, and get another golden dice, which will be good to have later, because as you can tell, we're very low on that family dice pool. But also, let's go again. Let's see what else. Another potential result, another possibility. What if? There we go. Reroll that die. Now we got a 7. All of a sudden, now the result of that roll is a 7, which is a big success. So you get the idea. So that's one easy way to modify. The other one is your skill, which lets you re-roll the family dice pool once per day. So if you have a skill that applies to that roll, and let's say we got that 4 and a 1, so it's a 1. There's a 4. So like, okay, no, actually, because I am skilled at the task that I was doing, because it's there on my character sheet, pick up that pool, re-roll it. Look at that, double 8s. Holy shit, I am so skilled at whatever the hell I was rolling on that one. So that's another way you can modify your roll, so you are not completely fucked by just having few dice. Facets. I know we saw this yesterday, but I do not remember exactly what a facet effect is. We'll find out shortly once we get back on the book. And then the other ones are just reroll family dice pool, and that's it. Because heirloom just lets you consult with your ancestor, doesn't apply, doesn't do anything to your dice. So that sounds like all the basic ways, except of course figuring out exactly what facet does. But we got golden dice, we got everyday items, which let you reroll your highest, and reroll skills, which let you reroll the whole thing. All right, let's see now. Compare that based on what we've seen with the book. So using skills to reroll the family pool, dice pool once per day, which we've seen already. If the skill is relevant, yada yada. Oh wait. If the GM agrees that the skill is relevant, the PC may choose to remove a D8 and re-roll the remaining dice in the family pool. They must accept the new result. The removed D8 can be used again on the next challenge. After re-rolling the mic. Okay, so I didn't know that. And that's not clear from the character sheet. So in that case, that re-roll from the 4 and 1 by using my skill, rather than being both, would be one of these dice goes away, and I'm just re-rolling 1. Still got an 8 though, because I rock. Holy why are my rolls so good in this game? They should not. This is not how I roll. Let me be very clear, chat. This is not normal. This is not usually how my dice rolls go. But okay, so we didn't know that. Good that we looked. So you are supposed to lower the dice pool temporarily for the effect of that roll by 1 before you do the reroll. Interesting. Okay, cool. Using facets. A PC may use each of their facets once per day to either add a modifier to a challenge roll result or avoid a critical failure. All right, let's see. Add a modifier. Some facets list challenge modifiers that can be used to achieve more auspicious outcomes, but doing so always comes with a cost. After making a challenge roll, if the GM agrees a facet is relevant, the PC may pay the facet's cost to add its modifier to their highest value D8. If the PC adds a modifier to a result below 4, they skip 4 when counting. For example, a 3 with a +1 modifier is a 5. Makes sense, you never want a 4. Then they mark that they've used their facet on their character sheet. Not every facet provides a challenge modifier. So let's look at some of the facets to see what that looks like. Let's go back here, facets. Actually, let's look at the table of contents real quick. Plain basics, plain funerals, superstitions. Okay, here we go. By the way, yes, there is in fact a section of game master guidance about playing a racist non-player character safely, which is very welcome and very well included there. So let's see where. Yeah, facets. It is page 91. So not that far from where I was. There we go. Skills and facets. Okay, facets are specific, right? Yeah, they are specific parts of your character. You choose them from this list. Actor, assimilated, detective. So these are kind of like merits in other games. So yes, if you have one of these that affects, so for example, entrepreneur, poet. So let's say if I had a facet, right? If I had a facet, let's see a facet that would affect something. So herbalist. No, this is just that it lets you make these specific rolls. So what did it say again? It said that facets let you... add a modifier to a challenge roll result. Do we have any? I guess these modifiers are different. For example, entrepreneurs effect, a character with this facet is driven to be their own boss, start their own business, and build their own fortune instead of relying on others. Self-made, they will either already have a business, be a part of a family business, or hope to start their own business. When an entrepreneur is in a scenario that deals with running their business, they may spend one individual die to add one to their highest die roll. Interesting. So with that same example from before, let's say I've got these two golden dice. I did not use them on the roll, and I got a result of a 4 and a 1. And let's say my everyday item does not apply in any way, shape, or form to this roll, and I don't have a skill that applies. But this was actually a roll to see if I was able to get the books to match up, because it turns out that a rival restaurant pulled some strings with the local government, and they've sent a city inspector to check the place to check the place out. And I have to show them the books. I have to show them some paperwork and stuff. So I roll to make sure that I have everything properly, and I don't have any skills or everyday items that can help me. This is my result. I'm like, oh fuck, they're gonna close down the restaurant this last day. Wait, I have the entrepreneur facet, which means, and I have some golden dice. Which I didn't spend before this roll because I'm an idiot, I guess. But I can spend one of these golden dice. Goes, all right, get rid of it, and now raise the highest, or raise, is it the highest specifically? Yeah, add one to their highest die roll. So basically, this would turn that 4 into a 5, which, and then at that point, now that's the result. And a 5 is just, I think it's basically a squeak by success, but it is a success. Maybe with penalties, maybe the person that was taking a look at the books got some sauce spilled on them and they're unhappy, but other than that, they didn't find anything wrong with the books. Restaurant stays open one more day, something like that. So that's another way that you can use it. And so it's going to vary, looks like, from facet to facet. For example, poet. A character with this facet has a way with words and can charm their way out of a tough situation. A poet can use the power of words to charm another character or manipulate a situation to their favor by borrowing another player's individual die to add to their die roll. The used individual die goes back to its owner and does not go back to the GM. Wow, that's actually really okay. So these are worth taking a look. There's some interesting abilities in here. So if, for example, actually, no, poet would work, right? Way with words can charm their way out of a tough situation. So, yeah, like let's say again, that same situation, 4-1. That inspector is there. I rolled very poorly, but wait, what if I can give him a little bit of the old razzle dazzle? Dazzle them with bullshit. Sure. I blather on, I charm, and I say, oh my God, it's such a nice suit. And honestly, I'm pleased, I'm honored, frankly, to have somebody of your stature checking out our humble little banquet hall, because really we work so hard for it, and we know you're such an upstanding member of the community. So thank you so much for taking a look. I want you to look at these books and look at everything, and please just give us, if there's anything we can do to improve the business even more, because we want to be a part of this community. And the GM goes, oh yeah, you know what? Sure, that's some bullshit. And I go, great, because I don't have any golden dice, but my friend Dave over here does have a couple of golden dice. So I take one of those golden dice, right? Except I probably should have done that before. So let's say this in this story, in this scenario, I haven't made this roll yet. I just have these two, and I'm like, oh fuck, I gotta make this roll. I don't have any golden dice, and I don't have none of my everyday item doesn't matter. My skills don't affect. The only thing I've got is that poet facet that makes me a good bullshitter, and I haven't used it today. Great, I'm gonna use my poet facet. Great, cool. So I have no golden dice, but Dave has two. Hey Dave, give me one of those. And now I add it to the pool, and I roll, and I get a, what is that, a 5, and a 7. Hey, that's a 7. That's not bad. That's a pretty decent roll. And then after that, instead of going, all right, well, that's spent and it's gone because fuck Dave, no, we give it back to Dave. Thank you, Dave. I don't know how that exactly fits with the idea of the poet, like why you take it from somebody else and then give it back, I guess, but sure. Why not? I like the mechanic, even if I'm not sure if the mechanic is meant to represent what you're doing, because you're borrowing somebody else's power, but or skill, but you are using it with your own words and terms. I don't know. It is weird. only reason I bring that up is because I'm kind of a finicky sometimes about like if you're gonna have a game mechanic, and this is not okay. This is not a value judgment. There are games. In fact, I've seen the argument that game mechanics should not necessarily represent specific things. Don't have to represent specific things in the world, right? And there is, of course, always the caveat that game mechanics are not physics, right? Um, but at the same time, it's you know what? Let's move on. Let's move on. I actually, it's not really a complaint or anything like that. It is just I personal taste at that point. I usually like for example, if I was borrowing a dice from somebody else, I'd like it to be because that person is somehow assisting me, and there's nothing about that here. It's just I am charming and witty, therefore, once a day I have access to one die from anybody else's individual pool. And if I had individual dice of my own, maybe I would have added those and then used Poet to take an individual die from somebody else's pool. Which, fine, but there's nothing about being a poet that implies that I would take, effort, skill, whatever this die represents from someone else to hopefully improve my effect. Then again, it is at no point stated that the individual golden dice actually represent anything. They are a meta currency. They are just something that you get when you fail rolls, and on a meta level, you can spend them to hopefully improve your chances on future rolls. It doesn't. The game has no point stated that these represent your energy or your chi or your growing frustration with your failed attempts that you are now channeling into focus or anything like that, right? It's just pure game mechanics, which reflects a little bit of that whole like board game feel, right? Because in board games you're gonna run. I feel like I think that's the thing. I think the what we're seeing here is that most tabletop RPGs, not all, but in most, there is a level of simulationism, right? Like the game mechanics are meant to, in some way, simulate the action in game. In the sense that a lot of the resources and things that you can do will represent actual in-game diegetic elements of the game, right? Though these golden dice might represent some level of actual physical energy or magical energy or just willpower or whatever, something within the game world, in the game fiction, beyond just the out of game mechanic of it is an extra, dingly bit, it is an extra bit, a bob, a dice, a point, a token that you get in the game world. It means something. Here, it's not presented like that, and in a lot of board games, you'll have that similar effect where like there are board game mechanics, but the board game mechanics and the actual quote unquote storyline event that those mechanics represent may be completely divorced, right? It's like, okay, so this turn I am going to farm my corn in whatever board game we're playing. This is a board game about farming, and you have different crops, and one of those crops is corn, and you're like, I'm gonna plant, I'm gonna plant my corn. The fact that in that game you have to roll three golden dice and one four-sided dice, and then you roll that and you add the totals, which is three. This is a very bad roll. That's a five, and you multiply it by the result here, which is one. So 5 points. Okay, so I managed to gather 5 ears of corn this round. Nothing about this in this board game about farming says like, okay, each one of those golden dice represents 1 acre of corn. The square dice represents the efficiency of your combine or whatever. And so, when you roll, that's why I know that because I just made the system up, and I'm married to making them mean something. So in my personal game about corn, each one of these represents like a corn field. So the more corn fields you have, the more corn you get to roll. And your combine is the machinery that you have. I don't know if combine is the right word. Not a farmer. Not a farmer. Don't quote me on that. But whatever. This is your equipment. And you know what? Early in the game, it starts. Why am I designing a new game instead of talking about the game that I came here to do. I can't. This is not healthy. So why are you people letting me do this? I'm literally designing a new game instead of going over the game I'm supposed to be doing. But anyway, in this game, this represents your machinery. You start early. I've got lots of cornfields, but not great machinery. But as the game progresses, hey, now I've got a DA for machinery, and that multiplies. Anyway, why am I doing this? No reason. No reason. I'm not making a game about corn. Um, but you notice how my game design instinctively, because I'm a tabletop RPG game designer, they mean something, right? These are cornfields. This is the machinery. They represent the thing. But just raw, basic board game design, at least in my experience, most board games, there is not necessarily, there's less of that sort of of the board game mechanics representing a specific thing and more just like no, they are their own thing. You move around the board because this is a board game and you're moving around the board and you are spending points and stuff, and at the end of the day you're getting more points, but they tend to be a lot more abstracted. And the fact that this game is such a sort of board game slash tabletop RPG hybrid shows in moments like that, where I don't think that the golden dice individual pools are really meant to represent anything. Um, but because of that, that's why that rubs me. The poet thing rubs me the wrong way because I do like the ability, I do like the concept of it. The fact that the mechanic is grab a dice from someone else and then give it back when the actual effect, the story effect, has nothing to do with somebody else, rubs me the wrong way. I don't know how I would redesign Poet to not borrow a dice from someone else. In fact, I don't know why they did it that way, rather than just say if you have Poet, like send that to like a hey reroll highest, or just hey the GM will place one additional individual pool die into it and then that die goes back to the GM anyway, right? Versus this, like this makes it so that if for whatever reason none of the other player characters have any individual dice either they've spent them all or they haven't been failing rolls or whatever, then all of a sudden my poet ability becomes useless through no fault of my own, even in a scene where maybe none of the other players are around, but because nobody has any individual dice that I can steal for my poet, then all of a sudden my wayward words and charm effectively means nothing mechanics wise because of these other people instead of myself. And that might be okay. That might actually be perfectly okay if it made sense within like the power, right? If this poet ability specifically said, "Oh, you are witty and charming, and when around your family, you are able to be more poetic and authentically yourself. Therefore, this ability lets you borrow individual dice from other people of your family." Blah blah blah. Like if there was more of that, then I wouldn't be complaining right now. But the fact that it's not there, it rubs me the wrong way. This is not a breaking point or anything, right? This is not like, oh well, now this game is crap because of this. Not at all. But it does rub me specifically kind of the wrong way because of that. And I think it's because I keep running into parts of this game that have a lot more of that board gamey feel than the tabletop RPG stuff that I'm more generally used to. I don't know, Chat. Does anybody else kind of see that? Is it just me? Is it just old man yells at cloud over here? Or I mean, it is. It's always old man yells at cloud time on this stream. But also, like, am I the only one kind of seeing that, or what? Let's see. Anything else? Oh, assisting. Here we go. So good. It's good to know. Okay, wait a minute. We need to go back to facets for a moment. Okay, so facets will let you add modifiers if the facets. So poet again lets you do the thing that poet lets you do. But also avoiding critical failures up here. If a player rolls a critical failure on a challenge, they may try to use a facet to avoid it. To do so, they must convince the GM that the facet would help them succeed by role-playing a short scene. If the GM agrees, the challenge outcome is changed to somewhat positive. The GM should use the opportunity to progress the story in interesting ways. Afterwards, the PC marks that they've used the facet on their character sheet. See, okay, so sorry. So that use of it specifically, going back to that very bad roll that we have, right? So we rolled this. So at this point, we had no dice. Nobody else had any dice. We can't do it. So we rolled this. So based on that, now I guess poet isn't useless because it works for any, as long as you it specifically says so, as long as you can kind of convince the GM of it. Then it sounds like um, I would be able to use poet and go like, you know what? Poet says I am very charming and good with words. I do have to play a scene, which is fine. And then, don't threaten me with a good time. I was gonna play a scene no matter what. Try and stop me. In fact, um, but this would have been a crit fail. This would have been like 4-1. Oh shit, crit failed. No, wait, I can avoid a crit fail because I have the poet facet, and I can do that. So now I still role play out the scene. I do my quick my fast talk or whatever. We play it out, and then at that point, I don't have to re-roll. It's just like instead of being a crit fail, now this is a yes but, right? A success with a small consequence. And then the GM would say something like, you managed to soften up the inspector, and even though they spot several minor violations, instead of giving you a citation at the moment, they go, hey, I don't want to hurt your restaurant, and I appreciate that you're trying real hard, but you're going to have to try harder. All right, I noticed X, Y, and Z. I'll be back in 1 week. Make sure those things are fixed. Otherwise, I can't pass you. And that's a success. It's like, okay, cool. The restaurant stays open another day, but there's a consequence, right? It's like, no, but we really need to do something. And then as a GM, I would probably like, find and toss one of these work cards that's like 3 hours. So a couple of these actually, right? I would do something like, hey, the dishes have piled up and it was unsanitary. One of the stoves is broken, fix appliances, and the bathroom was filthy. So now all of a sudden there's 8 full hours of work that need to be done to get this place, quote unquote, back up to code, right? But it fits the story, and it fits the drama of it, and it gives the player, it's like, I was able to do something to affect that role because the default, while I do generally subscribe to the concept of let the dice fall where they may, and you know what, failure is often more interesting than success in a lot of games, but at the same time, I also like my players to feel like they have agency and power, right? And I for one, so here's the thing, and this is actually, you know what? I mean, I'm gonna cut over to just my face because this one's more of a slight discussion, right? Um, and I'm curious what other people's approach might be to it. If anyone on the chat wants to kind of chime in, but um, I feel like, let me see, where am I going with this? Where am I going with this? Failure can be fun, and failure is often more interesting than success, right? Agreed, and probably true in most games to a point. And this is something that I have thought about in the past, and I kind of internally refer to it as the David rule. Um, what happens in your game if you have somebody who just rolls poorly all the time, right? Um, because there are players who, despite no matter what you might do, you can give them bennies, you can give them fate points, and whatever. They have 28,000 skills, and they have these bonuses, and you gave them advantage on the roll and everything else, and they still somehow manage to crit fail for the third time this game, right? That happens sometimes, and there is a point of that is just like, hey man, sometimes the dice are just not with you, right? Which I get, but how fun does your game make that situation, right? How, if you've got somebody who's failed several rolls, so there are a few things, right? You've got this mechanic here where anytime you fail a roll, you get a Benny, right? You get a dice, you get some kind of point. A lot of games do that. My own games that I've designed, well, not all of them do that, right? Like, but the big one that I'm working on, Seeker's Call, which we'll probably go back to tomorrow. Um, I do that, right? If you fail, uh, well, actually, it's more that one's more complicated, but still, like a lot of games will do that. Will just give you some kind of benefit point or whatever that you can use for future roles, right? I can't do anything about this role, but you can use it for future roles. And the more foes you get, the more benefits you end up with, and the more things you have to help a future role succeed, um, which is fine. It's fine. But somewhere around like the third failed roll in a row, even if you're getting bennies and if you're whatever, um, people start tuning out. People stop having fun if the result of those failed rolls, sure, I got a benefit and I got something that I'll be able to use later, but the immediate result of the failed roll is that my character wasn't able to do the thing that they wanted to do. And let's face it, with tabletop RPGs, it's stated explicitly as a matter of fact that for most games you should only be rolling when the result matters, which means you're usually only rolling, or at least a lot of the time, characters are rolling the things that they are good at, right? And it sucks. It feels bad when your character that is supposed to be good at something just absolutely whiffs a roll. Again, especially if it's something they're supposed to have been good at, and there was nothing you could do about it. The occasional act of that is fine, but if it happens often, it can be real demoralizing. And I call it the David rule because like this happens to David in games. Like he is legitimately cursed. He rolls poorly, and it's happened a few times where like yeah, somewhere around that third roll, like I see him too now, and it's like yeah, sure, fine, I'll roll whatever. I don't yeah, there we go. Yeah, missed again. All right, cool. Let me know what happens next round. Like it's demoralizing for the player. And I very much want to avoid that in my games. And I look for ways to avoid that in existing games, even if they don't give you that option. So in this game specifically, in Jiangshi, the way that failure is handled is just you get a Benny. But there are so the balancer to that is you don't necessarily have to make it again. It's fine to fail occasionally. The occasional failure is good and interesting. I just feel like you should succeed more than you fail is my general approach to a lot of these games. I know not every GM has that, but I tend to approach games as what I call quote unquote an enabler of awesome, right? I want you to tell awesome stories. I want your character to be awesome. I want you to have awesome moments at my table. And while some awesome moments can come from failed rolls, uh, more awesome moments come from a character or player wanting to do something cool and then rolling and getting to do it. And it's not that I don't want them to fail ever either, right? But I do prefer if the game gives the character enough options where with the right combination you can almost guarantee a success in a roll. And the way I approach that, the way I do it is or the way I want to approach it rather is that let's say okay, big climactic scene, right? You're fighting the big dragon, and you come at and the player goes like, I have an idea. I have an idea. While everybody else is keeping the dragon distracted, I'm going to climb up the side of this house. I'm going to run along the roof. Y'all keep it distracted. I'm going to come up behind. I'm going to jump up and try and get on the dragon's back so I can stab it directly with the knife stabbing +5. And I go, well, that sounds dope. That sounds fucking dope. It's going to be very hard, but go ahead and try. And I don't want the character to fail. That sounds really cool. I as a GM, as a player, want that to work, right? I want the players to have those fucking amazing moments, but also I understand that part of the game is the excitement and the risk of like rolling the dice and seeing what happens, that chance of failure. I don't want to eliminate the chance of failure at all, but I do want to make it so that the players have enough tools and options at their disposal that they can all but guarantee that. So the system that I would want to play, for example, for that situation, sorry, just adjust the mic here. The system that I would want to play for that particular situation is something that would let my character go, okay, so that's going to be a very hard roll. I get it. But I have this, the parkour merit, which gives me an extra 2 dice on this. I have this other thing, which gives me an extra dice over there. Because I have this item, I can, focus. I can do this in halftime, which means that I can use my second action to quaff a potion of hill giant strength as I'm running, which makes it so that I now have a +4 to the strength roll that I'm going to have to make the jump, blah blah blah. And then because of I have the acrobat feat, I'm going to be able to roll that jumping with advantage and this bonus and all this stuff. And the point is like, yeah, oh my god, all of a sudden you're rolling that d20 with advantage and like +20, no, plus whatever, plus like 6 modifiers, and it feels good, and you're like, fuck yeah, let's go, and you roll it. You might still fail. You might still fail. And if it fails, I as a GM will reward you with an epic fail. Right? We're going to go into it. You're going to climb up there. You're going to get up on that roof. You're going to run. You're going to fail. You're not going to hit the dragon, but we're going to do something that's going to make this memorable, because we want the story to keep going. Cool, but the point is that at least you as a player did everything you could, right? There is a level of player, what's the word I'm looking for? Player agency. There's a level of player agency in being able to modify a role and in using your character's resources, skills, points, whatever, to modify a role. That is a level of player agency. I was able to do something. If that same situation had been just like, all right, cool, all roll it and that's it. There's nothing you can do to modify this roll. Which again, there are situations where that can be the thing, and that can be a very tension-inducing moment for certain games. I'm not entirely opposed to that on occasion, but I have found that, again, especially for players that do tend to fail rolls more often, that games that don't have a lot of ways for players to influence the roll other than just like, some static modifiers that might be on their sheet because of their strength or dexterity or whatever. I feel in games like those, I as a player and even as a GM feel like the players have less agency. It makes it so that you can try and play your character, but at the end of the day, you're just rolling some dice and finding out what happens. Which, fine. OSR is OSR, right? But that rankles me a little. That rankles me a little. I prefer to at least give the character, the player, the ability to put some effort, to be able to feel like I did it. I put in the effort. I put in everything I had into this role. And even if you fail, there's a certain level of satisfaction of just knowing you really tried, versus a game that doesn't have any of those options, which is many of them. And you're just like, well, it doesn't matter whether I put in effort or not. It's just a dice roll that I cannot otherwise affect or modify. So whatever. Like it feels to me like a bit of a disconnect if I, as a player, have no way to at least try and affect the roll. So I do appreciate it. Now, with all that whole rant aside, I do appreciate that this game does in fact give you multiple. Oh, let's go up here. Sorry, my headset was being weird. I do appreciate that this game does give you. I just realized I'm not playing the background music today. Let's hit up the Spotify real quick. There we go. Just a little. All right, leave that in the background. I do appreciate this game gives you multiple ways to affect a roll beyond just a add a modifier from your stats, which is not really a thing in this game anyway. There are rerolls, there are different ways to reroll. You can reroll the whole thing, you can reroll the highest. You have these dice that from your pool, you have ways to borrow dice from other people's pools. And the one thing that we haven't done is of course assisting, using individual dice during another player's turn. Point is, I like what this game is. All of that to say, I think this is good. I think this is good. The rolls that I have made, I have been rolling pretty well, but the rolls that I have made, when you take into account these things and your skills, your facets, your everyday items and stuff, I feel like there is a good level of um, of giving the player tools to express their agency through the character. I think this game does a pretty good job of that. All right, assisting. Using individual dice during another player's turn. Assisting is where a family can show their selflessness and shine. As long as they are part of a scene, a player can choose to roll any number of dice from their character's individual dice pool to assist another player who is making a roll of any kind. Assisting can happen at any time in the scene before the GM narrates the outcome of the challenge. It's also possible that multiple player characters can assist with the same unresolved challenge. Interesting. To assist another character, the assisting player separately rolls any number of dice from their individual dice pool. These individual dice are rolled without any modification allowed. If the assisting PC rolls a 4 on any die, their attempt to assist fails, and they must immediately return all dice they roll to the GM. Okay. Okay, so this is really interesting. So let's go back to that same situation, right? So we got that 4 and a 1. And I'm like, oh, fuck. And this time I don't have Poet. I don't have any dice. I don't have anything I can do. So I'm in that bad situation where it's like I roll poorly, and there is literally no other way for me to affect this roll. None of my facets apply. None of my skills apply. My everyday item doesn't apply. I'm gonna be pretty fucked on this, and it's okay if that happens occasionally, right? But in this case, you know what? Here's Dave. Here's Dave, and he's been failing a lot because it's Dave, and he's got 3 of these individual dice. And he goes, Dan, I got your back. I'm going to help you out. So, interestingly, basically, it sounds like he doesn't have to say he's assisting me before my roll. It's after making a challenge. Sorry, here we go. As long as they are part of the scene. So let's say Dave is there. We've established Dave was in the kitchen when this whole thing was happening. And this is assisting can happen at any time in the scene before the GM narrates the outcome of the challenge. So it's been rolled, and I'm looking at my sheet and going, "Oh, I can't do anything." The GM goes like, "Well, does anybody want to help? Is there anything else I can do? Because otherwise, I'm going to narrate the results." And here's where Dave goes like, "Nah, I'm not letting this happen. I'm stepping in, and I'm going to talk to this guy and distract him and see if I can just, get him to get out." It's like, all right, cool. Roll your individual pool. You don't touch these. These are there. Just roll your individual pool. And so Dave would roll his individual pool, and he got an 8, a 7, and a 1. That's an amazing roll. So he then basically says here, now the result of this roll, I guess, is that 8. Individual dice are rolled without modification allowed. So basically, now the result of this roll is an 8 because these go away anyway. Holy shit, Dave helped. But had that roll come up, here we go, any 4s, then at that point it's like, well, not only was Dave unable to help, like Dave steps forward and immediately stumbles over his feet, falls flat on the floor, and actually knocks into, this is a crit fail at this point, knocks into the inspector that was there, making him stumble back and actually burn himself. Not a deep burn, but he burns himself on one of the kitchen surfaces. Oh no, this is bad. This is very bad. Also, Dave, give me all of those because fuck you, Dave. Like, oh man, that feels bad. That feels bad for Dave. That means story-wise, I get to have fun with it, but that does feel a little bad for Dave. I don't know. That feels very punishing. That if I roll any 4, all of my individual dice go away. I don't know if I would house rule that to say that any individual dice that come up as 4 get, are sent back to the GM, but any that don't, you get them. You get to keep them. I think that's I think that's kind of how I might house rule it, because it does feel a little point. Again, just the David rule, right? It's like if that happens even once to David, if like he had these and he tried to help me, you know what? It sounds like I'm shit talking David, and I'm not. It is more of a concept, but like there are many players. Yeah, like they rolled this and they see like, oh well, the best I got, a 5 would have helped you, but since you got a 4, it means nothing. And now just for trying to help you, I lost all of mine. Like I'm never going to assist anyone again. The punishment for that, there are dozens of us. Exactly, struggle was like I'm never assisting anyone. I'm never assisting anyone again if that happened to me, even once. That's it. Like I've learned my lesson. It's not worth it to help other people. That's the lesson I and many players would take away from that event. However, if that role had been that, and there's let's change this 5 to a 4, just for the visual, right? Boom. Now, if you said, oh well, you still helped, or maybe it would say like, no, if there's any force, the assistance still fails and the dice that roll the 4 goes away, but you still have these for later. You can't continue to help, and you weren't able to help in this one. Maybe the guy that was distracted, whatever, or sure, crit fail. We gets burned on the burners or whatever. But at that point, I'm punishing the player. Like if I took all their dice, I'm punishing the player for trying to help through something and punishing them through something that wasn't any of their fault. While that can happen in game to the characters, it feels like a dick move to the player. And I think that's something that sometimes some game mechanics kind of forget, right? That in punishing a character for a bad roll or a bad result or whatever, you want to always make sure that you're not accidentally punishing the player, right? So that's why your fail mechanic might punish the character and might make the immediate situation more dangerous or more complicated or whatever. But what it shouldn't do is make the player feel like they are being somehow punished for having rolled poorly. And that's a hard line to cross, because again, as Struggle Bus just mentioned, there are many players that roll very poorly very often. And it is a miracle, considering how many tabletop RPGs treat you if you're having bad rolls, that so many of you, and frankly of us, continue with our addiction to these games when the games do nothing but hurt us. Speaking of which, by the way, I highly recommend, if you have one of those problems, get yourself a little dice jail. This set of little D20s down here has been naughty, and they have been cooling off in this little dice jail for a couple of days. And I think I'm going to let them cool off till the weekend. We'll see how they behave later this weekend, but they've earned themselves a week in jail. Does that actually help? Yeah, it does. It does. And, sure. You can come at me with physics and logic and the real world and all that. But I know, and also let me be clear. I want to show my face. I want to look you in the eye when I say, abolish prisons. All right, I am a prison abolitionist, except when it comes to come on, there we go. Except when it comes to dice jail. Dice are the only things that I ever want to see occasionally imprisoned in using imprisonment as punishment for their sins. Dice are the only ones that deserve that. Human beings, generally, no. It's a much bigger conversation. Of course, it's just like defund the police. It doesn't mean just throw all the police out in the street. There's a lot more. But yes. All right. So I just want to make clear that just because I support putting dice in jail does not mean I support putting people in jail. The other thing that I don't support, but I still have to deal with, actually, it turns out, because I just looked at the alert, is capitalism, and specifically ads and advertising. Alas, folks, it has been an hour, though. This does feel better. We were able to go back and forth for a while. We spent an entire hour without having to do any ads, and now we're gonna do the ads. So we're gonna kick them off We'll be right back. You know how it is. It's going to be a longer ad break, 3 minutes. So go ahead, stand up, stretch, get yourself something to drink, treats, buy yourself something nice. You got 3 whole minutes. We'll be back. Once we come back, we'll finish up with Jiangshi. I'm excited. We've been having fun. Hope you are able to sit through the ads and come back with us. All right? We'll be right back if I manage to hit the button. Well, howdy, folks. Hopefully, you all survived the apocalypse for a moment. We are back. Stream is live. How are folks feeling? Was that too much? Was that too little? I liked it personally. I really do feel like the whole hour and then just slightly longer break. 3 minutes is not that much when you've had a full hour of my melodious voice in your ear holes. I think it's a better balance we have now. All right, let's. I see my cat back there. Wait, can we see her? Is she visible? No, no, she is. She is literally right under the line, like right here. Yeah, sweetheart, you want to say hi to the people once an hour? Huh? Is that what we're doing? Come on. No, come here, come here, come here. Let's see if I can get her on my lap. Come on. No, you're just gonna sit there and judge me. I think she's just gonna sit there and judge me. Oh well. If I get the cat on camera, yeah, we will we'll do a cat break. She does not wish to be a ninja. She is a ninja. She is mysterious and dark and shadowy. All right, folks, let's get back to the overhead and finish up with Jiangshi. Actually, we're not finishing up because we also like after that we want to once we're done with this book, we do want to look at a couple of the scenarios from the Haunted Tales book to see how they lay those out. I'm actually curious about those. So we've still got a lot. Well, at least this entire next hour, I suspect will be um, just all of this. All right, so where do we leave off? So assisting. So like I said, I would house rule assisting. I think to not be quite so punishing, but that's just me. Maybe also, who knows? Maybe during gameplay, it turns out that you're actually just handing these out like candy all the time, and they go away and they come back. So if it's a steady trade in these, right? If you are getting these all the time, you're spending them all the time. I would have to see how the game flows and plays. Again, with the board gaminess of it all, maybe it is like that, right? Maybe the sort of the golden dice economy actually moves back and forth very quickly. And if that's the case, then I would leave it kind of as written. And then at that point, it's like, all right, it was actually unlikely. Excuse me a moment, folks. The cat I don't know what she did, but at least she didn't. Cat, how did you? What fell? What did you? Jeez. Okay, I see what happened, folks. Bear with me. I'm gonna be right back just for a second because Cat wants attention. All right, nothing's broken, but Cat had decided that she needed to knock a few things off some shelves, as cats do. I love my cat. Back to the overhead. All right, folks. Let's wrap things up. Pushing, adding individual dice. Each PC may use individual dice they collected to assist other family members on rolls or push themselves on their own rolls. Right, so we've seen how you can use the dice to help other people by rolling and risking, etc. But how do you help yourself? Well, if you have individual dice of your own, you can use them to push. Well, the main use of individual dice is to assist other players. Oh, huh. So apparently these are actually meant more for other players than for yourself. Which again brings the demand, then why is it so punishing to fail helping? If you want me to use these, if the primary, it is the text of your game says the main use of individual dice, that's these, is to assist other players. That's the main thing you want me to do with these, then why do you make it so that if I roll a single, I'm not rolling any fours because I am not a David. As you can see. Jesus Christ, come on. A single 4. Maybe it's not that big a problem because it never happens, apparently. Here we are. You know what the chances? Oh, there we go. 2 4s now. That would have been 3 4s. Anyway. No, actually, sorry, it's 1 4. Only 1 4. Well, it's all it takes. Anyway, point is, you're saying that if I roll even a single 4, I lose all of them. But that's the main thing. Like, again, you see what I'm going for? Like, I'm getting mixed messages. I'm getting mixed messages here. Anyway, Let's see. A player character may add any number of their individual dice to their own challenge rolls. If they do this, all of the dice they use in this way are returned to the GM once the challenge roll is resolved, which we kind of need. Kind of new. PC must decide whether to use their individual dice to push before making a challenge roll. Okay, that also makes sense. And the dice are then rolled together with the family dice pool after the roll. The PC must return all individual dice they use to the GM, which is kind of what we knew was happening with the individual pushes. But okay, so let's spend a little time thinking about that because we've got two ways to use your individual dice. Let's say you've got three for because you've been sucking, and you can and you've got your regular roll and you rolled it. So before you roll, you're like, I only have three. I'm going to spend at this point. I'm going to use two of my dice to push, so I add them. And now, no matter what happens, I've basically spent them already, right? And that's for me. And then I roll, and I see what the result is. There's nothing about individual dice specifically said that makes their force not fuck you over. So there is that risk. The more dice you have, the more force you can pop up. So that 4 that came up, the special dice will take away the highest roll, which happened to be this 8, for also from the golden dice. So those go away. Then from everything that remains, we take the highest. That's a 6, so that's the result of that roll. Then all of these, these 2 that I spent are gone, leaving me with just this one, and then the family pool goes back to the normal. That's one way. So when I'm using them for myself, they are always spent. Now, let's say somebody else had been making that roll, and they already rolled, so I don't have to decide before that, and they rolled. They had nothing else. Oh, no, that 4 took away that 8, leaving them with a 2. Oh, no, it sucks to be you. Wait, I can help you. I'm in the scene. So now I roll mine. There we go. Now we're sucking. And now I tried to help you, and never mind. I lost all my dice. That did nothing for you. Okay, I'm getting forced now all the time. So again, that one. But now, here we go. So this one didn't suck. So now the highest one was 8. So if I succeeded at helping you, I lose nothing. But if I fail at helping you, right? If my roll was just 2, 1, 2 or 1, whatever here, like that was my roll. Well, I still failed at helping you, but I get to keep these. It's only if any 4s come up that I lose them. But the chances of a single 4 coming up, the more dice you have, is increasingly high. Well, that's 555. Interesting. Yeah, I'd have to see how it plays. I think before I house rule it, like my instinctive reaction is that it feels very punishing. But at the same time, depends on how you play, how you roll it. Like it feels like, it's 1 in 8 chance of 4. But the more dice you have, the higher your chances of rolling a 4 on any single one of them. Because it's not a 1 in 8 anymore. Now it's a 1 in 12. No, actually, no, sorry, not 1 in 12. No, 3 in... Okay, I'm bad at statistics. But it's kind of like the. In fact, you know what? No. Wait. We have dice for this. We have websites for this. Give me a second. Let's figure this out. Actually, that's what we do. We nerd out about this shit. Let me see. Dice. What is the? Let's see. Give me a second. Let me find the dice. Okay, it's any dice. It's the site. Right? Yes. So let's resize this window a little, and let's go ahead and switch over to our screen share, and go ahead and tell it to. There we go. Yeah, that's what we want. Let's go ahead and expand that up a little. All right. Math, not even once. All right. Alas, friend, we about to do some math here. All right. So let's see here. What we're looking at here, we're trying to figure out is d8s. So loop dice for 1 over 1. So 20, do a 20 dice loop. Output dice d8. Right? Would that work? Calculate like that? And what am I, what is this saying? This is saying that, am I doing this math correctly? Yeah, I think I am. Yeah, like what are the chances of a one? Yeah, okay, yeah, exactly. Tell me what are the chances, do a 20, actually I guess the biggest dice pool you can have would be 16. Right? But the results are seen very quickly, right? And let's put it a 4. I mean, it would be the same thing. It's D8 equal anything. But let's see. D8 is a 4. So basically, it's saying, like, do 16 loops and tell me, output the number of dice that from D8s, number of D8s that that roll the 4, that are equal 4. Right? I think that's the math that we're doing here. This looks right. So basically, we're saying that one die, when you're just rolling one, then your chance is, yeah, exactly 12.5, right? 0.13 percent chance. That's 1/8. That makes sense. Now you've got 2 dice. That risk is doubled. That either of those dice, right? That any of those d8s are a 4. And with 3 dice, with 4 dice, with 5 dice, you're basically at about equal odds, 50-50 chance that any of those is a 4. And if you get to 6 or 7 or 8, at that point, you're much more likely. Anything over this, right? The bigger your dice pool, the higher the chance that at least one of those is going to be a 4. Which means that you as an assist, someone who was to assist, are like the more dice you risk in assistance, which I guess it's not the worst thing, right? That's actually not entirely the worst thing. That if you, the more effort you put in to assist someone, right? Is there anything in the book? Wait, before I switch over, let me say assistance. Yeah, I think you get to decide. This is where a family member, a player, can choose to roll any number of dice from their character's pool. Okay, so you as the assistant can decide which ones, how many of your dice you have to roll are you willing to roll. Which means, in a weird sort of way, you generally want to avoid assisting with more than 1 die. Because the more die that you assist with, the more likely it is that your assistance not only does not assist the other person, but also costs you all of your dice. Like the quote-unquote smart play when assisting another character based on this system is to never really risk more than 1 of your die. Because then there's only a 1 in 8 chance that there will be a 4 and you'll lose it. Like, it's still a 50-50 chance that you'll assist, right? Because you want to get a 5, 6, 7, or 8. And hopefully that, one of those, that'll be higher than what the other person got. Which probably, if the other character did not get at least a 5 on their roll, that's why probably you would be assisting, because they straight up failed. It's probably not a good idea to try to assist somebody to improve a base success to a full success. Your chances are, I don't like your chances, is what I'm saying. But like the smart play based on this is really just assist with 1 die. Generally don't go all in with however many individual die you have. And if for whatever reason you have accumulated 6 or more individual dice, for the love of God, don't risk them all to assist someone, because you are more likely to fuck yourself over than you are to, in any way, shape, or form, assist them. Interesting how that part works, right? Anyway, let's go back. All right. So, lesson learned, if you ever play this game and you're going to assist someone, don't think about it too hard, all right? If that was too much math for you, I get it. It was basically too much math for me too. but that's why I had to use a computer. But gut wise, I felt this. I used it because why I know this, because of World of Darkness, right? Because that's one thing that you learn fairly quickly in World of Darkness, especially the versions of World of Darkness where ones take away successes on those d10s. And that's when all of a sudden you start realizing that the more dice you roll, the more chances for ones. And some of those bigger dice pools would often result in equal or worse results than rolling the same thing with a more quote unquote mediocre dice pool. So that's another thing to keep in mind here, which is also, I guess, in a weird sort of way, like, because how many dice, right? We stated, I think, that you start with seven, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So on day one, you're already rolling seven. So that means with seven, as we saw, that is a wait, let's go back here real quick. Right? Seven was yeah, you have more of a chance to get a four than anything. But again, regular rolls don't, if you get a four, doesn't eliminate your entire dice pool. It only eliminates one die in itself. But yeah, like as soon as you have seven, uh and then look at me fucking go and not get a single four on these. It is this, so this result is statistically less likely than having gotten even a single four. There we go. There we go. So that four takes away that eight, and then everything else kind of sucked. That was not a real four. That was a one. But you got the idea. You got the idea that the more dice you have, the more chances the dice have to fuck you over. I guess unless you're me. Okay, there we go. Four, and one of these fives goes away. So now it's a five. It's the middling roll. You got the idea. You got the idea. But there's going to be more fours with the more. Again, unless you're me, why am I rolling so well? Okay, there we go. There we go. Now this roll is a proper fuck you, because one takes away that eight, another one takes away that seven, and then the third takes away that three, just because fuck you, leaving you with a measly two. At least it wasn't a crit fail. But you get that can only happen when you've got a nice big handful of die. If you're only rolling two, sure, you can get that 4-1 that I had before, but look, you're much more likely with only two. The chances are still not so bad. It's a 25% chance that you'll get a four, but also that's still rough, right? Because when you're down to two dice, that and the four affects itself and the other, and that means that if you're only rolling two dice, you have a 25% chance of crit failing, which is rough. It's rough. You're gonna want to make sure you keep your tasks so you can always make use of that once per day ability here to restore a die back, because you're gonna want, especially once you get down to like 5 dice. I think that's sort of like the comfiest number. That's where you probably want to stay for your best chances, right? Yeah, I mean 4-8, but look at that. That's still a 7, 2 sixes. Do it again. Oof, no, that's a bad roll. Sorry, that's a 2 that would have remained there. Okay, that's not the worst roll. That would have been a 5, which is a middling success. One more. Oof, no, bad roll. That's a 3. Okay, now I'm sucking. When I try to show how this would actually be a better situation, that's when my dice rolls start really dicking me over. Okay, that's an okay roll, I guess. That 5 there. You get the idea, folks. Just keep that in mind. But you do have at least ways to avoid critical failures, ways to add modifiers. You have ways to re-roll your highest with all these other things on your character sheet. So you have ways to mess with the system, which I appreciate. All right, what else are we missing? Restaurant abilities, right? So the restaurant also has specific abilities. The last way of modifying rolls. The restaurant lets you once per day. You can basically, if you are down to 4 dice, well, as soon as the day starts here in the morning, if this is still uncovered, then a player character can basically say, "Hey, whoo, we're back to 5. Cool." Once per morning. So this one's once per morning, so this one can only happen in the morning phase. A player character may add an extra half hour to their resilience. So your resilience is basically, this. Like you have, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 hours of resilience that you can do. It says it right here on the sides. So you can kind of give yourself an extra half hour once per morning. One player character can do that. Once per day, a player character may reroll a 4 on their turn, so that's very cool. So, for example, that famous or infamous 4-1 roll that we had gotten before, if this was still uncovered, then that would have been yet one more option that I had for saying, hey, I want to use the once per day restaurant ability. Reroll that 4. Ooh, now it's an 8. Yeah, fuck yeah. That would have been another thing we could do. And finally, the last once per day on the 4, player character may return an individual die to the GM to add 1 to any non-4 result. Ooh, okay, that wouldn't have been too helpful with that one, but it's good to know that's an option. So that one would have been like if I had any individual die, one thing that I could have done once per day is, hey, GM, take one of these. And unfortunately, it's any non-4 result. So the best I could have done with that would have been turn that 1 into a 2, which would have been useless anyway because it still had a 4 and 2. But if we had a different roll, if we had like a 4, a 2, a 4, a 1, and a no. So it's useless. Yeah, that's not a great ability. If you have a 3, oh no, the 3. If whenever bumping up, they specifically said, right, you always skip the 4. So that would be, so this would have been a decent roll, right? So this normally would have taken this away, which kind of, wait. So I wonder, is this resolved? Not covered by a restaurant card. Okay, so this is gonna be a judgment call now, actually, because it doesn't specifically say if, or maybe it does. Let's check something on the base mechanic here in terms of when the 4s are supposed to go away or are supposed to take things away. So clean. Okay, so first thing that happens is roll all the dice. Take all the red the ace in the family dice pool from the day-night tracker, roll them. So we roll this, we got this. Next step. Yeah, there's no specific step when they say, hey, at this point, apply modifiers. Because here's what I'm thinking. Let's say I do that. And I go, oh, okay, I want to use that ability the once per day. I'm going to give the GM, I had 3, I'm going to give GM one of my individual die so I can take the highest non-4 result and bump it up by 1, which would be this 3, which would then go up to a 5. The problem is that then at that point, like that was effectively useless because what would have happened without that would have been that this 4 was still taking away that 3 and left me with a 1. If I do this and I spend the effort, the effect, and I bump that 3 up to a 5, now when it's count force and cancel dice time, same thing. Still goes away, leaving me the same result. So that was a waste. So like it makes it so that's only useful in very specific circumstances. Like the only way that would have been useful would have been if I had rolled like a 4-3-3, for example. In that case, right? And then I would sacrifice 1, bump one of these 3s up to a 5. That 4, then we clean house, leaves us with a 3, which is still not a good result. That's still a failure, just like a 1. It's equivalent. It's the same thing as a 1, right? So, like, this is very limited utility in this system right now. I guess you could use it to improve a result. So if on a no force, never mind. Just you got like this roll, like a 6, 2 and a 6. And you want it to be a full success. You don't want the yes, but that would come with a 5 or 6, right? So at that point, then I would have spent mine, and then that would have let me bump up that 6 to a 7. And now my result is 7A, which is a full positive outcome on that event, rather than the mostly positive but with a gotcha. I guess Like it definitely feels very, very limited utility, this ability. But I guess that's also why it's later on. Like the more bigger useful, like just at making sure that this dice pool doesn't go too low, and the thing that gives you more time to deal with your things, or the thing that lets you reroll force, very useful. And then this one's much less utility, but these are also much more. They'll go away a lot quicker, right? The more powerful ones go away quicker. All right. Interesting approach. Kind of a little bit more brutal than I expected in some parts. And also, again, good to know that some of these things are very, like, they are not going to be helpful in a lot of situations, which, yeah, keep that in mind. All right, so we've looked at restaurant abilities. Awarding individual dice. Okay, so how do we get more of these individual, beautiful, golden, shiny individual dice? So failing, yeah, we've made it clear. Whenever a player fails a challenge roll, they receive... Okay, so this is slightly different wording. Yashi rewards player characters for failing, A, because it makes for a more interesting story, and B, because the family needs all the help it can get. When a player fails a challenge roll, they receive an individual die from the GM. Note that a PC assisting another PC never fails to succeed. Only the active PC has a chance of failing and receiving an individual dice. So this one, the description made it sound like that whole optional scene was necessary. It was optional, but it was necessary if you wanted to receive the die. This here makes it clear, explicitly clear, that no, anytime you fail, you will get an individual die. Good to know. That's how I would have ruled it anyway. The GM can award an individual die to a PC when something occurs that makes a character happy or hopeful, according to the hopes and dreams section on their character sheet. Cool. I like that. May is passionate about jazz music. Her mother Lee wants May to take over the restaurant business one day. May's character finds out that there is a jazz show happening, but Lee asks her to help with it with the restaurant work. May can either sneak out and receive an individual die, or stay behind and help with the restaurant. If May stays, the GM might award an individual die to Lee instead, as May is taking responsibility and moving towards Lee's dream. So, yeah, keep that in mind. And that appears to be it. It's just failing and living up to your hopes and dreams. Dope. Okay, dealing with neglect. Okay, so this is so neglect, which we saw earlier, is when you start failing, right? When you start failing roles, you're not able to do things, then these will get covered, right? Like so. So you lose that ability. That as these pile up, that is neglect. Like the dishes are piling up, the appliances are broken, the bathrooms are filthy. All these things represent neglect of the business, right? So how do you deal with that? Special actions. Once per day, each player character can attempt to deal with a consequence of an unresolved restaurant card task that is adversely affecting the restaurant. To do so, they pick a target card on the restaurant board to fix and make a challenge roll with the following results. 7 to 8, the PC succeeds and the GM narrates how they dealt with the neglect. Remove the target card. On 5 to 6, the player character succeeds and the GM narrates how spending time to deal with the neglect has ramifications. Remove the target card from the restaurant board. Or 0 to 3, the character fails and then the player narrates how the time spent on dealing with the neglect has ramifications. Yada, yada, yada. So while a success on 5 to 6 has the benefit of removing a card from the restaurant board, the time spent focusing on fixing things can negatively impact customer service. For example, orders won't reach hungry customers as quickly if the character who usually brings the food to the table is busy trying to fix a broken dim sum cart. Okay, so it makes sense. Like it's more story wise, I guess. There's no, it's like describe why it's not as good. But at the end of the day, a 0 to 3 of a result will get rid of one of these. So it's basically just like, hey, I'm going to spend once per day each player character. So if there's 3 of them and we have at least 3 player characters, each of them can take a shot at a challenge to just get rid of one of these. Okay, pretty simple, pretty straightforward, nothing crazy about it. Healing player characters, special actions. Healing is hard. Unless you're I guess unless you're a woo, right? Woos and herbalists have specific healing abilities, but otherwise it's just you need a 7 to 8 and you can remove one Jiangshi card. For those of you who were not here in yesterday's stream, although I did kind of explain at the beginning, you damage, quote unquote, is represented by Jiangshi cards. Where's the... Is it this one? No, it's here we go. Found it. The specific Jiangshi cards go in specific locations. So like this is a Jiangshi card. Like that's how you effectively take damage. These cards get placed here. So you are able to, on a 7 to 8, somebody can heal you, can help you get rid of one of those Jiangshi cards, restoring your health. Healing Jiangshi PC. So as there's another thing we saw yesterday, right? If all of these get, in fact, we'll go ahead and do that because it is a kind of a cool effect, right? So if all of these are covered, so you get the where'd it go? Where did they go? You get the spirit. Yeah, you get the dazed and confused. You get let's see, where are they? Give me a second. Give me a second. I mean, there's a lot of cards here, and the cat did step on them earlier. Okay, here we go. Here we go. So which one is number 2? No, that's 3 is coughing. 2 is sword. No, that's 7 sore throat. Where do I not? Okay, here we go. Sluggish movements is number 2, and then coughing is number 3, and then itchiness is number 4. So these are all the effects that you are suffering as the Jiangshi are kind of sucking away your life force. Number 5, now you have gray skin, a blue tongue at 6, a sore throat at 7, and finally you are hopping, at moving around in little hops like a hopping vampire at 8. Once all that happens, you become a Jiangshi, and now all your abilities, now you no longer have everyday items, you no longer have skills, you no longer have facets, or you no longer have any real grasp of English. You no longer have a heirloom or hopes and dreams. Instead, you now have the things that a Jiangshi has rather. So you can eat spirits, or eat people's spirit rather. You have superhuman strength, night vision. You can shapeshift into humans. You can turn invisible. You have telepathy. You can shapeshift to animals. You can fly. You can fly. You can fly. Which is kind of dope. I'm not gonna beat around the bush. If I ever play this game, I would kind of want to speed run becoming a Jiangshi. But then if you are healed, it is possible to be healed from being a Jiangshi, and as that happens, basically they just get flipped back. You still have the symptoms, but you lose access. So being healed from being a Jiangshi is a process of becoming increasingly weaker and weaker. So now you can no longer fly. And another healing session later, now you can no longer shapeshift into animals. And then one more, and now you can no longer telepathically speak with other Jiangshi. But these things remain. You're still hopping around. You still have a sore throat. You still have a blue tongue. It's an interesting mechanic. I actually really, really like how that works. Which is why I went over it again, because it seemed fun. All right, we're almost done here. Let's see. What does healing look like? Okay, so that's a whole explanation there. So optional rules. Okay, so throughout all of this, we've had these cards, Hmong cards. There's a whole bunch of them, and they have some pretty. They look like nightmarish. It's art. They're art cards with little like nightmare images, and some of them like dream-like images, like so. Some of them are more colorful, some of them are scarier, etc., right? But these are the Hmong cards. But so far, we don't know what they do. It turns out that this whole inclusion of the Hmong cards is completely optional, which is kind of interesting. Hey, Corganism, welcome in, friend. Got a week in the evil spirit before you can drive it out. Exactly. And hi, hey, friend. Like I said, it's a cool mechanic. It's a cool mechanic. But now let's see what this whole Hmong card mechanic actually is. Let's see, Hmong, including discussing dreams. After a long day at the restaurant, or a stressful day dealing with police, tongs, and maybe even some supernatural entities, you're bound to have some strange dreams. Though in times like these, they might not always be the best dreams. Hmong cards are completely optional. Some GMs may elect not to use them at all, especially in a one-shot that has a shorter time limit. They may also be given to different characters on different days. Perhaps every family member gets dealt Hmong cards after particularly harrowing nights. Perhaps only the grandmother gets them as she communed with the spirits the day before. The GM should use the Hmong cards to progress the story in interesting ways, gauging player comfort when implementing them. The GM may elect to deal out Hmong cards at the very beginning of each morning phase, picking which players to affect. Each affected player rolls 1d4 Hmong die. So we finally know what the... where is it? Where'd it go? There we go. That's what the d4 is for, because we hadn't gotten to use it yet. So this is the Hmong die. So, each affected player rolls 1d4 monk die and receives that many monk cards from the GM. There are two types of monk cards. Good monk cards are in full color and represent pleasant dreams. Bad monk cards are black and white and represent nightmares. After receiving their monk cards, players take turns explaining their dreams to each other and the GM. The GM should prompt the players to describe how their character slept, describe their dream or nightmare based on the image of the cards, describe what these dreams or nightmares might mean. Are they an omen of something to come? Are they a reminder of the past? Are they related to their hopes and dreams? If so, the GM may award an individual die to the player. After the PC has described their dreams, all good monk cards are discarded. Bad monk cards, however, have lasting effects. Each bad monk card a player receives, up to a maximum of 4 cards, is placed on one of the resilience slots on their character sheet, starting with the lowest number uncovered slot and counting up. A covered skill, facet, or other trait cannot be used until the bad mung is removed. It's as if the PC is so upset by their nightmares that they can't concentrate on what they're doing. Bad mung can only occupy slots 1 through 4 on a PC's character sheet, and a PC can never have more than 4 bad mung at a time. Any additional bad mung that would be placed is instead discarded. If a PC receives a Jiangshi card while they have bad mung, the Jiangshi card replaces the bad mung card in the appropriately numbered slot rather than covering a new slot. If a PC has become a Jiangshi, they cannot gain any bad mung since the dead don't dream. All right, interesting. So we'll look at discussing dreams in a moment, but let's see. So one thing that I don't like about it is that it's like, oh, the GM can choose to specifically say, hey, fuck you in particular, right? Or make it only grandma has this. It can fit. I like better the idea of stating from the beginning, okay, you know what? Only the eldest, so probably like the grandma character, but it could be like an eldest brother or whatever. But the eldest character is the one that is going to have these prophetic Hmong dreams, right? So you can have only one person, but it's stated from the beginning. Or you could say just everybody is going to have Hmong dreams. Or maybe you could say you roll for it. Like I wouldn't, roll. Cool, you got anything but a 4, no dream for you. But if you roll and you got a 4, roll the Hmong die. Oh boy, 3 Hmong cards. So I would shuffle these. Let's actually give them a quick shuffle because I just realized all the pleasant ones are there in the middle. This is not a good shuffle, by the way. I'm doing a pretty shitty shuffle there, but since they're little square cards, it's hard to give them a proper. Let me see if I can give them a proper riffle. I don't think so. Yeah, nope. That's not going to be it. I'm going to end up bending the cards. Don't want to do that. So let's just pretend. In fact, let's just do the kind of. There we go. That's what I should be doing. Just the. Give me a surface here. We have a surface. We have a table. Stop trying to roll back onto here. All right. Oh no, you don't need to be there. X card. There we go. This is the kind of shuffle we need to do here. This is the kind of. There we go. Let's do that. There we go. Okay, hopefully that's a decent shuffle, right? Let's give it one more and then put them all together. There we go. Oh, and that's the, good. Actually, that worked very well because that's not a real monk card. That's the warning that, hey, there might be disturbing images in some of these, chill out if you do and just take them out. Anyway, we did that. So let's go ahead and deal out on our character sheet. We roll 3. So we're going to deal out the 3 monk cards. So the first one, ooh, that's a nightmare. Oh, and let's say for example, we actually did have like Dazed and Confused already. Like it's been a while. So then, oh no, 3 more. So all of our first row is going to be covered, right? So it's the first one is a nightmare. The second one, also a nightmare. And the third one is also a nightmare. You know what? Let's keep on. Okay, here we go. We were due for a dream. So let's fix that and let's say that the last one was a dream. So with these, now first thing that happens is now you discuss your dreams, right? So you as a player look at these cards and go, oh man, I had nightmares. I'm gonna just go ahead and combine it all and say, I had these weird dreams where it was dark and I was walking through the darkness, and I saw flickering flames in front of me. As I approached, I realized it was a massive bonfire that had been set out into this otherwise empty field, and there was nothing around me except the only movement I could see in the nightmare were the flickering and licking flames around the logs. But as I crept even closer, seeking warmth from the light, I realized that the flames themselves weren't just fire. They were fire snakes. They were these strange otherworldly serpents that were twining around the logs, and they stared at me, and their tongues flicked out, and I felt myself stumbling back, running away from them, running over a bridge. And as I went over that bridge, I felt a sense of peace and a sense of calm. I felt like I was starting to run back home. And that's when I woke up. Cool. All right, cool. Great dreams. And the dreams, the good part of the dream, that one goes away, just leaving me here. So because I had these nightmares, and I'm already dazed and confused from having been sucked off by a Jiangshi, I heard it when I said it, I don't have access to one of my skills, one of my facets, and the everyday item until all this stuff is resolved. Cool. So then, how's our timing looking? All right, we're still good. I like this so much better. The fact that I can just go for an hour without having to do ads. This is so much better, you guys. So much better. All right. So, and then discussing dreams, removing bad monk cards once per day. Bad monk cards cannot be removed by normal healing. Instead, a player must discuss whatever is haunting them with another PC. This can allow them to remove one or more bad mung, but may have unforeseen consequences. Once per day, each family member can counsel another PC about their dreams and attempt to clear up to 2 bad monk cards. In order to attempt this, the counseling PC must have at least 4 resilience slots uncovered on their own sheet. Then they make a challenge roll with the following results. Okay, so let's say Dave wants to help me. Yay! And he's got at least 4, so he can help me. So he starts talking to me about my dreams. And let's say the family pool right now is at 5. He doesn't have any individual dice to keep this easy, so he makes a roll to try and help me. We talk about our dreams, my dreams. We roll. Oh, that's a really good success. No 4s. Clean house. We've got an 8. So the result on a 7 to 8 would have been that the PC succeeds and narrates how they listen to the other PC's dreams. They may remove 1 bad monk card from the other PC's sheet and another bad monk card either from the other PC's sheet or their own. So if Dave had any of these, he would have been able to take one of himself. If he had none, he would have been able to clear out both. Now, let's say that roll was actually a 5 or 6. Well, then the PC succeeds and narrates how they listen to the player, and they remove 1 bad monk. So that's all that would have happened there. And on a 0 or 3, 0, 2, 3, PC fails. They take 1 bad monk card from the other PC's sheet and place it on their own in the lowest numbered slot. So if Dave had done this, I'm no longer, you know what? You're right. Fire snakes are not real, I say, as now Dave goes like, yeah, fire snakes are not real. But what if they are real though? Oh shit. I kind of think that if you fail to help somebody else with their nightmares, you still kind of help them because they're like, you know what? Yeah, nightmares are silly, but then you have nightmares. I kind of dig that actually. Oh, there's a little table. If players are having difficulty interpreting their bad dream from the visual prompt alone, they can use this chart to generate a starter phrase that helps them begin to describe what happened in their bad dream by rolling 1d8 and 1d4. You know what? Let's try that. So let's say I had no idea what happened in my dream. Well, I say that's a 1. And then a d4, and then a 1 as well. So yes, that one, the one I was about to read anyway. I felt something on the back of my neck. 4 and 2. Oh no, 4 and 2. And then I was frozen in ice. And then, okay, so this is just like little ideas that you can take, like 2 and 4. And then I was moving slowly through sludge, and yeah, like it's a little beginning. I like that. Like a micro prompt almost. Okay, we already saw the playing Jiangshi rules, and in fact, I just went over them. Okay, spirit paper. So this is another thing that's included with the thing. Where the little spirit paper? Let me see. Where'd it go? Where'd it go? Where do I have it? Um, I have too many things in this box, and I has appear to have lost. Did you? Wait, where'd my spirit paper go? It was here a minute ago. I remember even showing it on. Oh, here it is. Found it. Found it. Spirit paper. Here we go. I was moving slowly through sludge. Exactly, you were moving slowly through sludge. Okay, spirit paper. So what does spirit paper do? So we have this whole little book of spirit paper. Spirit papers are paper talismans inspired by those used in Taoist sorcery known as Fu Lu or Fu paper talismans, used to immobilize the Jiangshi in their tracks, allowing characters to heal them or run away from them. Attacking or trying to kill a Jiangshi is usually pointless because they come back, no matter what. Though paper talismans are usually used by experienced Wu, in this case, the family members can use them if they have enough conviction behind the words. In this game, we decided to use the term spirit paper to separate the real-life esoteric Taoist practices from the game, while focusing mainly on how paper talismans are used in Jiangshi mythology and pop culture. Players also have the option of not writing on the spirit paper provided and just reciting what they would like to say as a symbol of how it's keeping the family together during a scary or intense scene of the Jiangshi. If in play, players may create spirit papers by taking a slip of paper and writing a short phrase or sentence on it that captures how the family of characters stays strong and together. Spirit papers can only be used once during each of the nighttime phases. A spirit paper can only be used by the player character with the most experience or knowledge of Yangshi. See generations and age comes with wisdom. So it's kind of given that whoever has the most experience gets this little defeating Yangshi 101 card. And that they're kind of considered like the Jiangshi expert of the family. The GM must count to 10 in secret while the family is thinking of their word or sentence. If the time expires and the family has not yet agreed upon what to write on the spirit paper will not work. Likewise, if what was written on the spirit paper does not relate to how the family has stayed strong in the face of the Jiangshi attacks and all the other pressures in the game, the spirit paper will fail. Once it's been written, the family will say the word or sentence over and over before placing the paper in the middle of the table. If the players do not wish to use the spirit paper, they can just recite the sentence. If the spirit paper works, for example, a meaningful phrase or sentence was written within the 10-second time limit, the Jiangshi has been immobilized, and players can move on to healing their family member, and blah, 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 and then the whole process with that. Or evading the Jiangshi that they're faced with. If the GM deems that the spirit paper will not work, the phrase was not meaningful, or the time limit expired, the family fails at immobilizing the Jiangshi. The GM will then describe how the Jiangshi wreaks havoc among the characters and permanently removes a die from the family pool as a consequence. This in addition to the regular attrition of one die that is removed from the family die pool at the end of every day. The family die pool can never be reduced to less than 2d8. Okay, so that's interesting. Oh, we got some sample characters. These are full-on sample characters, pre-rolls basically. Okay, that's actually pretty cool. Okay, I like that, having some characters to work with, and then a full actual play, which we're not going to read through and do the voices for, because I think we're about to start. And these are your sources, and there's your appendix. Cool. All right, so that's the game. Cool. One thing that I noticed, I guess we'll see that when we, or actually no, you know what? I did actually skip a few things. So let me see before I make a fool of myself. Although the devil's got involved without the words. I do like this. So I have some thoughts on the spirit paper. The secret count to 10, cool. I actually kind of like that you're not holding up a timer. Like, it's like, no, folks, like, figure it out quickly. But I do think that you should, rather than count in your head, I would be a fan. The problem is having one ready to go. But personally, I would be a fan of having a timer, a physical timer, maybe on your phone or whatever. So that, and then you don't tell the players, of course, so that when they lay down that spirit paper and you tell them it didn't work, you can pull out the timer and go like, you guys took too long. You like the family's heart clearly wasn't in, or the family wasn't united enough because you took too long. Or but the sort of value judgment of does it properly reflect the family? I have mixed feelings about that. Depends on the GM. But the problem is like anytime you give the GM too much leeway to decide rather than leaving it to a system to decide whether something the players did was successful, especially if there is a qualitative aspect to it. Like I'm supposed to judge whether the phrase or word that the table came up with is properly meaningful. Well, that might not be that as difficult a question as I'm making it out to be. Again, it's just like it's gonna vary. Like some GMs might, have different opinions of whether something is meaningful than others. So, like I said, I have mixed feelings about that particular part of the mechanic, but I do dig it. I do overall dig the idea that no, you all have to put together, and it's like, in the moment. Like you can't just have them ready to go. So there is a, and again, it's the board gameness of it all. But there's that's like a kind of a board game mechanic. There's like a time limit. Something has to happen, and it does feel like it's the kind of mechanic that would, during the middle of a Jiangshi attack. If we're gonna do that, let's do the big one, the big autographed one. In the middle of a Jiangshi attack, like this, you have to act quick. You have to get it. It's hopping right at you. It's gonna eat your face. Think quick. Like I kind of get that, and I'm not opposed to that. But I would just advise to err on the side of, unless there's a very specific reason why, or they obviously got it wrong. But otherwise, I'd say err on the side of giving the letting them get away with it if it even vaguely makes sense is what I would say. How are we doing on time? Okay, we got 8 minutes before the next ad break. So before we do that, let's do this. I wanted to do a proper poll, but we're not going to. So we're going to use these last 8 minutes to decide which of these adventures we want to see, chat. So wherever you are, if you're lurking or if you're just being quiet, well, wake up, because when we get back from break after a few minutes more, we will in fact be going through at least one of these scenarios, if not two. We've got stuff like Always Carry Vinegar by Banana Chan, Blood and Vinegar short story, and that's a short story. We'll skip short stories. We're looking for a scenario. So Always Carry Vinegar, which is like the default one. It's kind of like the actual play that was shown in the game here. The Last Spike by Sang-Foon Lim. It's All DU From Here by Banana Chan. Hunters in the Dark by Sang-Foon Lim. Noodle Runner by Banana Chan. City of Angels, Secret and Garlic by Kristen Devine. Who Says Witches Don't Like Chinese Food by Sharang Biswas. Chaos at the Cooking Club by Kiana Shaw. The Fifth Saturday by Jabari Weathers. One of Many Hauntings from Order 9066 by Yoshi Creelman. Danger Past the Papal Picado by Morgan Nunzio. Be Careful What You Dismiss by Vladimir Bratovich. Rev Dream by Carl Pierre Louis. Of Shair and Sek Kebab by Nurdin Ali Kadir. Pork Blood Stew by Mabel Harper. Secret Sauce by Yeon Shim. Or Oi, Vampires. Ashandafer di Jiangshi by Lucian Khan. Sorry. So do we have a, let's see, it's kind of a nice mini game, vaguely like a kid's guessing game or something. No, exactly. I do like it. I appreciate how much of this game, even though it strikes me as odd, how much of this game is basically just a board game with all these. How much is this coming? Okay, we want to make sure that these cards here at the bottom are actually showing on camera. How much of this is really very board game? These selections of cards, both the board itself and your character sheet are, have these slots for cards, and you're keeping track of, and you're spending points and whatnot. Like there is a very tactile, very board gamey ness about to this game, which is really interesting. It's a really interesting approach to it. Okay, so we've got one vote for Secret Sauce, and I was kind of leaning towards that one also because, again, I'm a fan of Jian Shim. I would love to see what she has being up to. And honestly, I'm a fan of Lucian Khan. I'm curious about Oi, Vampire. I don't know how, Vampires? Oi, Vampires. Shanda 4D. So, I mean, it sounds like Lucian, if I'm not, please do not let me put words into their mouth, but if I'm not mistaken, Lucian has been, is Jewish, basically, has been established as Jewish. Why did I state it that way? They're Jewish, is what I'm trying to say. And this definitely sounds like a Jewish take on it, so I'm real curious about that one. So honestly, I'm leaning towards those last two more than anything else. Although again, if anybody in chat, any of those names, any of those titles caught your attention, please let me know. But until then, we are going to take the hourly 3-minute ad break. I really, really like this so much better, being able to just go on and on for an hour rather than have to pause every, just about 30 minutes. So we're going to take our hourly ad break. Yes, I am still streaming. Hey, Phoenix, welcome in. Welcome in. I am still streaming. I started very late is part of the thing, right? I started over an hour late because it is my mom's birthday and I had to spend time with my mom on the phone because she lives 1,600 miles away. But, happy birthday, Mom. I know you're watching. But because of that, we're going a little bit longer. So definitely still streaming. I think we're going to go for 1 more hour. I'm gonna do this ad break. We have shifted to hourly 3-minute ad breaks rather than a minute and a half every 30 minutes. So we're going to do our hourly ad break, and then we'll do 1 more hour. I think we'll wrap up for the not for the day though. Today is a full streaming day. So once we're done with the TTRPG stream in about an hour from now, I'm gonna take a break. I'm gonna go have dinner, etc., and then I'll probably be back around 7:30 to 8 to do some indie video gaming stuff and just kind of hang out as we wrap up the day. So I'm looking forward to that. If anybody else has absolutely nothing going on today, Thursday. But before we get to all that, it is ad time once again. So thank you so much for hanging out with me. Please go stretch your legs, get something to drink, but please come back after the ads because we are going to take a look at a couple of those adventures and I'm excited for it. But until then, we will, of course, be right back. All right, and we are back. Hello, folks. Hello, folks. All right. I wonder what this adjusted ad break schedule will do for my streaming income. Considering I've made like $10 in the past month because I'm not exactly making the numbers here, I'm not too worried. I'm not too worried. It's fine. Anyway, folks, let's finish up here. Let me switch over to the overhead. There we go. All right. So it sounds like we are going to be looking at the last two adventure slash scenarios. And but first, before we go that, so let's see. So there's some guidance on how to make your own scenarios, which we like. So it's like a little template here. Title goes here, content warnings, tone, etc., all that stuff. And a random customer generator, which is kind of nice. You know what? Let's generate some random customers. I always like a good random table. So let's roll 1d4 for a column first. So that's column 3. And then let's roll a 1d8. And that's 6. So 6, column 3, a famous chef. All right, cool. Column 1, number 5, a group of older gamblers looking to play mahjong. All right, cool. I like it. Plot points, outline of play. Okay, rules for non-restaurant scenarios. In some cases, you'll be playing with scenarios that don't use restaurants or kitchens. In those scenarios, you'll be replacing the restaurant cards with monk cards. Instead of completing chores, you'll be having nightmares that may or may not hinder the way that your community is being run. You will not be rolling 1d4 before the mornings in this case. How this works, remove restaurant cards from play. Instead of rolling for monk cards, each player draws 2 monk cards randomly in the morning like they usually would for restaurant cards. These monk cards are the nightmares that the characters had when they woke up that morning. Each monk costs 3 hours to resolve. Like restaurant cards, monk cards can be exchanged between players. If a player does not have enough hours to resolve their monk cards, they place any unresolved cards on the restaurant board, covering the next numbered open slots. They should describe the neglect the community experiences using their unresolved monk cards as inspiration. If all slots are full, the game ends and the community goes into decay. Monk cards can be removed from the restaurant boards by dealing with neglect. See the rulebook. Each player can attempt this once per day. And sheet cards play as normal when the character would takes on physical, emotional drama. Yada yada yada. Note that since monk cards affect the whole community, players do not place bad monk on their own character sheets. Interesting. So it's a completely different approach. It's like you're taking care of a community rather than a specific restaurant. Interesting. Other changes to the restaurant board will include slot 5 instead of typical clientele or busiest times. What kind of people do your community encounter who require your services? In slot 6 instead of type of cuisine, service, and signature dish. What makes your community stand out? All right, cool. I like that. Okay, now let us check out the two scenarios. So the first one that we're going to be looking at is Secret Sauce by Jiangshi. And it's page 1-4. And then right after is Oi Vampires. Oh, man, I'm butchering that. Why do I have Oi Vampires? See, that's the thing. I know it's Oi Vey, but then Oi Vampires. I guess Vampires. I'm going to stop saying that now. All right, let's go to page 114 and check out that scenario. See what that Secret Sauce scenario looks like. Here we go. All right, Secret Sauce by Yapping, with content warnings real quick off the top: institutional racism, cultural appropriation, toxic workplace dynamics, labor exploitation, white fragility. I'll pause real quick just to remind folks, if you had seen earlier, yesterday's stream especially, we kind of discussed that this game can be kind of lighthearted, but also it is a game that very specifically tells stories about people who are experiencing racism and certain cultural issues, especially 1920s Chinatown, Chinese American community, Chinese Canadian communities. There were certain events that happened during those time periods. There were certain societal attitudes, etc. So point is that this is the kind of game, and in fact they stated outright, if dealing with racism in any way, because they do present some guidance on how to present racism without being racist, which sounds, if you don't know what I'm talking about, might sound a little weird, but if you do know, then yeah. Like, it is possible to present racism within a story without doing so in a racist manner. And to their eternal credit, they actually provide some pretty good guidance on that, which I think I appreciate. Especially, look at me. Okay, I know I'm Puerto Rican. Okay, es más, te puedo hablar un poco en español. Te puedo decir que coño, carajo, puñeta, me cago en la jodida puta madre, etcétera, etcétera. Okay, yo hablo español. I am Puerto Rican, but also, I mean, I'm also a cis white man. So, as a cis white man, I appreciate, sincerely appreciate, any guidance that I can be given to portray people not of my culture in a non-racist way in a tabletop RPG. Because I play tabletop RPGs, and I would like to play tabletop RPGs such as Jiangshi, in which you have to play a member of a different culture. Well, for me, if I guess if you're Chinese, it's not a different culture. Anyway, point is, you have to play Chinese American. Yes, I sincerely appreciate any kind of guidance and handholding that the game gives you on, hey, we want you to have fun with the game. Here's how to do that without being racist. Thanks for that. Because if not being racist was as natural, I mean, it is pretty, like, there's a lot to be said for just don't be racist, right? But like microaggressions and a lot of stuff sometimes slips through because of ignorance as well. I appreciate being educated because I very much acknowledge my ignorance. Back to the overhead. So with all that in mind, again, this is a game that has a agenda is a loaded word, but it kind of is, right? It does want to face a lot of these issues head on and want to provide a hopefully fun way to also still, grapple with some of those issues and tell stories that include some of those issues. Hence, content warnings and all that. But keep in mind that this is a game that there is an expectation of darkness. And they even specifically say if you simply cannot deal with certain depictions of racism at all, then understandable, and thank you for your time, and we hope you find a game that better caters to your needs, but that will not be this game, basically. So the tone. Secret Sauce is a 1 degree removed from reality look at how Asian cuisine gets appropriated by white chefs and producers. Boy, talk about being on point for this fucking one. Hello, cis white man reads Jiangshi. I'm really trying. Please, this is not. Well, no, this is not appropriation because I'm not pretending to be in any way, shape, or form part of this. But look, man, it's tricky. It's tricky. I love this though. Let's see here, and how that can backfire. It's written as darkly comedic, but feel free to adjust the tone to suit you and the player group's needs. I love the setting. I love this idea. Hell yeah, let's go. So let's read the proper setting. I'm going to read the full setting, and then for everything else, we'll touch on it and see if we need to actually, a lot of this stuff. Oh, wow, there's so much extra stuff here. Okay, we might have to read the whole thing. I mean, it's 10 pages. We'll see. Oh, no, we'll skip over some like NPC descriptions, I think. We'll hit a couple of random plot points, but I really like just kind of skimming over it, right? Let's read the setting, then we'll skim. Yeah, I think that's a good plan. For decades, chefs across the country considered Salute magazine to be the premier, mass-produced last word on global culinary trends. Now, in addition to its magazine, Salute is expanding into the vast digital empire with a trendy, colorful website featuring articles like 10 authentic Asian dishes you can still serve to your suburban parents, and an extremely popular YouTube channel, Salute Secret Sauce. With over 2 million subscribers, viewers across the world tune in daily to watch their favorite ensemble of chefs bustle their way through around an impeccable, state-of-the-art test kitchen to try their hand at various recipes on short, easily digestible shows like Hold the Fish Sauce, hosted by Whitney Clark, and Thank the Stank, hosted by Kevin McClure. The Salute Secret Sauce team's most popular chefs put their signature spin on recipes that are largely not from their own foodways, often substituting ingredients for Western ones or using traditional ingredients in unorthodox ways. The team has a reputation for sharing a warm sense of camaraderie as colleagues and friends. But underneath the slick video editing and cheerful banter run currents of anger, betrayal, hurt, and suspicion. You play one of 4 staff members, from chefs to the production team, who've watched your cuisine, heritage, and identity get trotted out by chefs who consistently get bigger contracts, more benefits, and higher publicity than you. You watch family recipes you shared in the spirit of friendship get butchered and popularized by coworkers who remind you of your schoolmates in the days when your lovingly packed lunch drew jeers and jokes. You and some of the other kitchen staff are talking about unionizing, renegotiating your contracts to demand equal pay and video hours, maybe even going to the public if you continue to meet polite, icy stonewalling from administrators. While you fight for the equal benefits you know you've earned, unbeknownst to you, one of the other chefs brings in an old ingredient they don't understand. A secret sauce, you know, spells the whole team's doom. Unless you can stop them. All right, I dig that. I really dig that. I really dig that basic setting for it. I love that idea. This is okay. This is a good choice. Yeah. This is a good choice for, like, I would say almost a first time, even though it's not even like a proper restaurant one. I have a feeling that we're going to see, like, the two ones that we're looking at are probably. Oh, okay. So this was a proper Chinese restaurant. This is the Lushan Khan. We'll check that one. I love that the contact warning is clustered gays and alcohol. Can't be gay Jewish horror comedy. Fuck yeah. Also, can't be gay Jewish horror comedy is literally Lushan Khan's entire tagline. Did I mention yesterday that, you know, this is Lushan Khan is also a game designer. Visigoths and Molgoths by Lushan Khan. One of my favorite games, and we'll also be looking at it on stream one of these days. But yeah. That is, I've never read a more freaking on point description of an individual than that for Lucian. Honestly, again, I hope they have maintained that. I haven't seen them in years. They disappeared off social media for a couple of for a while. They've recently kind of gently come back. I'm very glad to see them. I love their work, and I hope they've been making more games and doing more stuff. I'd love to see more stuff from Lucian. Big fan of theirs. Anyway, cool. I'm excited for that. But anyway, let us continue. But yeah, interesting modern adaptation there for this. Yeah, because again, the game, everything we've been shown is meant to be like 1920s Chinatown, old school, etc. This one is very much a modern take. I'm digging it. Okay, so clearly, because it's a modern take, though, that means that there's going to be some rules, additions, and changes. I think we're going to have to read through that entire part. Is now that we've spent all this time learning the basic rules, then now the first thing we're going to do with a scenario is break a bunch of them and add new ones. Cool. We're very smart. We're very smart on this stream. Rules, additions, and changes. Secret Sauce is designed to be a short campaign. The first 2 days can be played in one session, while the other 2 days can be played in the second one. Ideally, it shouldn't take more than 4 hours for each session, from character establishment to wrap-up. It also requires one player who is willing to take on strong GM and facilitation roles at the table. Supernatural elements and occult forces are variably received, including among PCs. Whoever is GMing can decide on how skeptical the NPCs are, but none of them are wholly believing or integrated. Think of tarot readings or astrology and how people engage with them for a touchstone. Instead of typical use of language here, we'll be replacing those parts of the character with food knowledge, since we are playing with a modern-day kitchen media space. Oh, that's interesting. Okay, so one thing that we have had, we touched on it the first time during I think on Wednesday, when we first started looking at this, is the way they deal with English and your Chinese dialect. Because, especially, again, 1920s integration, depending on your level of generation, right? You might speak more of your Chinese dialect or you might speak more English. And you have 13 points on character generation that you have to spread among listening, speaking, reading, and writing. for both languages. So it's going to be impossible. Like you can be bilingual, and in fact, you are bilingual. You'll probably have at least a little English, even if you're mostly Chinese. But it's meant to reflect that difference of like, and that balance back and forth between like the people you are becoming, sort of, because you are immigrants, and the people and and your roots. And also, it is interesting, and I did note that yesterday that your English skills are are a square, right? Are a resistance source, which means this is not what the X card is for, but I'm just going to cover it. It is possible to effectively lose access, once you've taken a lot of damage, to effectively lose access to your ability to speak English. And so you have to communicate only through your Chinese dialect. And if you were like one of the younger generations and you decide to go like basically almost all in on English and get very little on the Chinese dialect, that's going to be some interesting role playing that's going to have to happen now while you deal with that. I do kind of like that. That's like no matter what, like you can lose this, but you'll never lose this. I do like that. Even if this is like if there's something I've left behind that you haven't given a lot to, it's still your core. I like that says something. I like that. And so the fact that that's a really clever adaptation that Yeon did, because again we're going more modern. So having that much, I mean, that still happens, of course, but this makes more sense. The language thing makes more sense in the original sort of 1920s, early immigration, first, second, third generation immigrant to America. Here, this is modern day. This is happening right now. This is the internet. There are websites, right? So I think that's really clever. That changed it to food knowledge, and so you've got. Since we are playing with the modern day kitchen media space, the dialect will now be replaced with regional cuisine and English will be replaced with French cuisine. You still have the 13 points assigned, and now they are, instead of listening, speaking, reading, and writing, it's taste, technique, presentation, and handling. Consider 3 to be unsurpassed mastery. No one else in the industry matches up. A 2 to be top level skill, 1 to be basic competence, and 0 to be incompetence. And then the description, taste, how good does the food taste? Does that change with context? For example, is the kimchi a character makes excellent kimchi by traditional standards of someone who has learned to eat and prepare it growing up? Or is this so modified as to be unrecognizable, even if it tastes good as, say, a cabbage slaw? Technique, how adept is the character at food preparation techniques in their home kitchen that they learned amongst their family? How adept are they in a professional kitchen with standards of training? Presentation, how visually appealing does the character's food look? Does their presentation add to the flavor of the dish? Handling, how safely does the character handle food? Do they let it go cold or reheat it properly? Do they understand how safety standards change depending on preparation of ingredients? For example, salt preserved eggs do not need to be thrown immediately into a fridge, and rice cakes will go stiff and unappetizing if chilled and must be eaten fresh. I really like that. I think that's a really clever way of doing that tradition modernity split, but applying it to this particular scenario, this particular more modern scenario. I really like that. It's super clever. Really appreciate that. I love it when scenarios do that. Like again, okay, we're actually going to step back for a moment, because I'm sure like the always carry vinegar, right? It's included in the main book. This is probably the most obvious. The most sort of straightforward adaptation, right? It's like there's no real changes. It's best played as a one shot instead of 5 days, so we'll play it over 2 days with 5d8 to start. So it's like a more condensed. So it's like if you were probably going to run this at a con for new players, this is probably the scenario that you would run, the basic always carry vinegar scenario. But it's like a dark comedy and silly, so it's a little bit more lighthearted, so probably a little bit more accessible, shorter, more focused, a few things of note, etc., etc. But it's still June 1923 in San Francisco. It's Chinatown. It's still the core game. There's no big change of mechanics. And look, it's literally just a few pages. It's just that, some additional questions for the setting, questions for character relationships, some basic plot points, and then just the 2 days that you're going to go through a simple outline and some pre-gen characters. So yeah, this is like the one-shot scenario. This is like the we're at a con, you have 3 hours at a con game. Here's some characters, choose one of these 4. We're gonna sit down and we're gonna do this, right? And then a short story. But like that's really simple, really straightforward. Just we're not doing anything weird with the game. Then we went straight to the back of the book, right? But I love when, like I said, this is not to shit in any way, shape, or form on this. Fuck yeah, actually, this is great. If I was going to run this game, I would not, by the way. I would not go to DexCon and try and run Jiangshi. I would legitimately feel weird doing it, I think. Because I don't have enough appreciation for the culture to do this properly. Or not appreciation, but knowledge and practice. I think I would want to play in several games first before I even considered running it. But were I to run it for people, this is it. Boom. Perfect. Beautiful. Love it. This, however, hell yeah. I love it when an adventure, when a scenario goes ahead and just goes like, by the way, this is, one step less than just like a full like hack of the system, right? This is like a new game at this point. It's one step below. Like we haven't thrown everything out and put in a whole new system, but we've hacked it. We already changed the name of a couple of things. We've added some additional rules. We're adding new skills. So new skills, camaraderie, charm, new facets, organizer, social media expert, analyst, mediators, firebrand, tech wizard. So like, yeah, we're adding a lot of extra stuff to the play. Okay, some things of note for the players. If you're not familiar with common vocabulary used in the kitchen, don't sweat it. If you'd like to prep for the game by watching a cooking show or two, that's fine. But here's a handy chart of terms any kitchen staff might hear. Okay, so this is just like stuff to know. I know a lot of this stuff because I actually am kind of a fan of cooking shows. And also, folks, just want to look you in the eye when I say this. For a long time, I had a private dream of going to culinary school and becoming a chef. I got over that. I got over that in large part because I worked in the service industry and in restaurants, both front of house and back of house for years during my 20s. No, it's not in me. I thought I wanted to be a chef because Anthony Bourdain makes it look so fucking cool. R.I.P. to one of the real ones. But holy shit, no, I don't have it. That's not me. I don't have it in me. Holy shit, I cannot be. I do not have the criminal record to be a proper chef, is what I'm saying here. Don't do it, bro. It's a brutal job. Yes, it's as brutal a job as you can. No, exactly. Like I said, the reason I fell out of love. So now I still very much enjoy cooking, and I consider myself a passable cook. I wouldn't call myself a chef, but I'm not bad. I'm pretty good at I can prepare a delightful meal given time and effort. I'm a slow cook. I'm not. That's part of it. I enjoy taking my time cooking and prepping dishes. If you enjoy cooking, don't become a chef. All right? Don't become a chef. Yeah, food service is a whole other thing. Like becoming a restaurant chef and cook, and I'm not even talking about kind of executive chef because that's a completely different job. Executive chef is a whole other thing. But just being a restaurant chef, you're not. It's not art. Okay, the day-to-day work. You're not creating art. You're not preparing meals. You're pushing out product. You are getting dishes out the fucking door. Get out of my way. What if that thing burns again? I'm taking out of your fucking hide, Bob. Like, yeah, exactly. You produce food, which thank you. Fucking thank you. But yeah, as a work thing, if you have that romantic notion of being a chef, again, I believe I stated yesterday that my presidential platform is a draft, but for service industry jobs. Like everybody should have to at least spend a year working in restaurants or other service industry jobs, period. So yeah, like if you have any experience, you know. All right, we're going to skip that. So more generally, savvy players will probably recognize a lot of the source material that inspires Secret Sauce. I encourage you to create characters that are not necessarily cookie-cutter copies of any hypothetical celebrity test kitchen or any hypothetical scandals around cultural appropriation or racism that they may have embroiled themselves in. Because yes, I know about this. I know about the test kitchen thing, and like this is all kind of parody, but like just barely. Just barely. I know what she's going on about here. This was bullshit. Yes, yes. All right, additional questions for the players. Which of the NPCs has the most lucrative contract? In a range between 8K and 14K, how much more than you do they make? Which of the NPCs gets the most video appearances and guest spots on other shows? Which of you, the PCs, have the most experience in a professional kitchen? How many more years have you worked in professional restaurants than the highest earning NPC? Have you ever heard the NPCs making off-color jokes about food and race? Who and how did they backpedal when you called them on it? Questions for character relationships. Who do you think rocks the boat the most? What do you think about their outspokenness? Who do you think gives too much ground? Why do you think they don't push back more? How have you built solidarity amongst yourselves outside the inner circle of Salut's more popular staff? When have you shared your dreams with each other? When have you shared your frustrations with the publication and the NPCs? So yeah, there's a setting. We're setting the group. We're setting the everything attitudes. So these are our main NPCs: Whitney Clark, she/her, petite, giggly, and given to theatrical admissions of defeat that have proven endearing with audiences. Whitney is one of the first faces of Salut's online empire. She's worked in a number of professional kitchens, but never for longer than a couple of months at a time. Her husband is a shadowy tech guru who opened the door for her at the company through his connections. Kevin McClure, him, affable, chummy, with the lumbering demeanor of a happy bear. Kevin's boyish charm is a favorite among fans. He has a knack for coming up with cheerful, catchy sound bites and always seems just on the cusp of saying something borderline offensive, which May neatly edits out before footage hits the YouTube channel. He has no professional kitchen experience or training. And finally, Brian Rose, him. Erudite, urbane, and sophisticated, Brian Rose has been running Salut for over a decade and is very comfortable in his position at the head of operations and marketing. As editor-in-chief, all the major decisions stop with him, and he has a reputation for micromanaging. He cannot pronounce any of the PC's non-English names correctly. That checks out. Big Troy McLean. Kevin and Troy are clearly family. Clearly. Let's see. So plot points. We've got a few things. Okay. Let's look at a couple of these. And at this point, I'm not going to read the whole thing because there's a lot. But we'll read like two of these plot points, and then from the outline of days, we'll read like one from each day, and just get a flavor for it. So let's see. Plot point. Whitney's mysterious tech guru husband pays a surprise visit to the test kitchen, and the PCs are presented as more valued than they are in practice. PC choice. Do you go with the story or push against it and embarrass your coworkers? Or another one here. PC playing Zoom in. Oh, so we've got some pre-made characters. I guess we'll see those, right? Because we mentioned May Zoom in. So let's see. Pre-generate character. Yeah. So this is Park Zoom in. Seo Kyung-soo, Matthew Lee. So you got the two chefs, a kitchen manager, and a camera person and video editor, she/her, and then who's May Tanaka, who is though her name is often misspelled in paperwork as May. Okay. Yeah, she's the one that edited stuff. All right, cool. So we do have interesting because we have the pre-gen characters. So the expectation is you're going to use the pre-gens. Which I dig. All right, so where were we? Yeah, PC playing Sumin. You overheard Whitney and Kevin flirting a little bit in the break room. During their conversation, Whitney says something about buying a potion from a witch in Chinatown, and Kevin laughs about whether it was a love potion. You roll your eyes and don't think much of it until you see that vial of black ooze glittering like the stars on a clear night. Oh, so basically every one of the let's just read them because every one of the PCs has their own plot point. So yeah, actually let's read this because these will give us some maybe some clues. So Sumin was one of the chefs, right, from the pre-gens. Sumin is a chef. May was the camera person. May, you catch something strange on video during your post-production editing. A figure in the corner that looks like one of the NPCs, drinking from a tub of something dark and viscous, as clouds of cold air billow around them in the walk-in. PC playing Matt. In a rare moment of rapport, you open up to Kevin about how much you want to start your own food franchise. Kevin enthusiastically tells you that you'd totally crush it, and that he's been working on a side business designed to help chefs just getting their start. You'd have to throw him $5,000 as an insurance of his investment, but that's better than taking a loan out at the bank, right? As he talks, you notice a strange, milky glaze to Kevin's eyes. It reminds you of the filmy cataracts old fish develop at the open market, a sure sign that they are no longer fresh. The PC playing Jiangshi. Brian Rose calls you in for a private meeting one morning, before everyone's shifts start. He tells you that he's noticed your performance is excellent and thinks you have potential to be the next phase of Salut's foray. With higher pay, benefits, and visibility come higher expectations, of course. It would be unfortunate to create strife between you and Susie, who he knows you're close to and have history with, so discretion around your new rise would be part of the promotion. As Brian speaks, you notice a thin trickle of black, sticky goo drip slowly down from his hairline onto his shoulder. It almost looks like molasses, except for the strange, glittering trail it leaves behind on Brian's pale skin. So we got some Innsmouth vibes here. We got definitely some kind of the stuff. So I mean, I kind of want to just read. Okay, so I'm not going to read the full characters. Yeah, I'm going to kind of skip the characters a little bit. Because we'll let you discover those if you ever want to play this. But I do kind of want to read the outline of days, because this is just a story, right? At this point, let's see. During the morning, okay, so first day one, during the morning, Whitney Clark, one of Salut's most visible chefs, preps her station to film another session of Hold the Fish Sauce, while chattering excitedly about stumbling on a nighttime wet market and buying several ingredients there. A whole burdock root, a glass bottle with a wax-sealed cork containing a dark, glittering liquid inside, dried abalone, bondegi. I just butchered bondegi. I did just butchered that. Apologies. And a whole ginseng root in a jar. She displays them on her bench and asks how one or more of the PCs how these things work. Kevin works on an episode of Thank the Stank, one of Salut's most popular online shows. He has to ask two of the PCs for help with his botched attempt at kimchi multiple times. Who does he ask? During the afternoon, Salut's editor-in-chief, Brian Rose, walks into the kitchen and calls in Whitney and Kevin to discuss adding a few new shows to the network's repertoire. According to your contracts, any show written without a host in mind should be open to all chefs, and the PCs have a right to be at that meeting, even though they weren't called. The evening ends as the evenings always do. Nothing supernatural here, just yet. Day 2. Thank the Stank host, Kevin McClure, asked the PCs for help in filming a special episode around the abalone and the secret sauce. During the evening, Brian, Whitney, and Kevin returned to the kitchen from a work dinner. The PCs were not invited, and decided to use their co-workers' cliquishness to their advantage and talk about the... next page. Talk about the possibility of negotiating for fair pay and contracts in their absence. They are interrupted by the three others coming in for food, giddy and tipsy. During the dead of night, sounds are heard coming from the walking refrigerator. Something escapes. Who does it attack? Who does it seem intent on finding? Day 3. Overnight, one of the PCs goes public on social media with their grievances. The outrage is instantaneous, and there's an emergency staff meeting called first thing in the morning. Players, who went public? How do the rest of you feel about it? One of the NPCs looks severely hungover. Who is it? In the middle of the meeting, the hungover NPC collapses to the floor. During an attempt to revive them, they suddenly come to and viciously attack the person closest to them. One of the PCs observes signs that they recognize from stories they heard growing up. The NPC has become a supernatural entity, intent on siphoning off the life force and blood of those around them. Players. Who is the first to see the telltale signals that the NPC has turned into a Jiangshi? How do you warn the others? And finally, Day 4. The PCs must band together to decide what to do. They have a choice.
Do they try to contain their coworkers in the walk-in and let the ravages of their affliction run their course? Or do they try to reverse the effects of the secret sauce and revive the kitchen staff and whoever else they've claimed? As they try to come to an agreement, they all get a text. They are all receiving the same offer from a rival network, nearly double their salary. The sounds of Salute's staff snarling and clawing at the inside of the walk-in door float through the silent test kitchen air. Make a decision together and see it through. I kind of love that. Oh, that's dope. That's dope. Like at the very end, that's the choice. Like these people have been like, it's not the goo is not what turned them. The goo is not what, they were assholes before the goo. The goo that turned them into monsters, but they were dicks before that, right? So now you've got a decision to make. Like, yeah, definitely an ask the interesting questions style of adventure design is pretty great. I love this. I love this. Yeah, that was so cool. That was so cool. I would love to run this. Like, yeah, Yeon. I've loved her work. I don't think I've ever seen anything Yeon has made that I haven't gone like, holy shit, that's so good. Like she is such a good game designer. This like I say this something like I am I still I think I might still be giving to their Kickstarter. No, sorry, not their Kickstarter, their Patreon. Or did I cut? I had to cut a lot of Patreons, but I kept a few. Just because I don't have that much money. Once I start making more money, hopefully, I want to be able to back other people more. But I had to take a few. But I think hers is one of the few patrons that I still kept, even if I think I might have kept it at just the lowest level, at like $1 or $2. But I still felt like I have yet to see anything from this creator that I have not absolutely loved. All right, how much time do we have left? About 22 minutes left in the stream, less than half an hour before we'll wrap up. So you know what? Let's go very quickly through the Oi Vampires, Ashandafur di Jiangshi by Lucian Khan. Yeah, we'll kind of do the same thing. We'll skip the characters and just go through the setting. Looks like luckily, there's not a lot of like big changes, so we should be able to get through this one fairly quickly. I say as if this is a chore. No, this is a delight, but we do have a time limit. So let's get to it. Content warnings, solicited gays and alcohol, campy gay Jewish horror comedy. Fuck yeah, let's go. Setting: the secretly gay 20s. You're living on a Chinese and Jewish mixed commercial residential block in New York City's Lower East Side. Many of the neighborhood's Jews, including your family, emigrated here from the region of Bukovina, on the shifting border between Austria, Romania, and Ukraine. The year is 1928. Your family has only been managing this Chinese restaurant for 6 months so far, on loan from the real owner, Dad's second best friend, who's trying his luck at toy manufacturing. At first, the regular clientele was skeptical that a mostly non-Chinese family would be able to cook their favorite dishes, even with Dad's best friend, Uncle Fa Wai, as part of the family. How is he related again, and when will Dad remarry? But business has gotten better ever since you brokered a deal with the local bootleggers to supply illegal cocktails. The grandparents welcomed Uncle Fa Wai to the household for his superior cooking skills and good rapport with the toddlers. Surprise! Chaim and Fa Wai have been carrying on a scandalous gay romance right under their noses. Will the Straits find out, or will they get distracted by an infestation of Jiangshi? Fucking love that. That's okay. Good. This looks like hella fun. I love both of these scenarios that we've seen so far already. I wish I could just go over every single one. I know most of these names, and every single one of them. Like, this is an all-star cast. This is a fucking all-star cast. There's so many good designers on this. So I have to believe that pretty much every one of these scenarios has at least this level of brilliance. I'm looking at all these. These are hella fun. Let's see, rules, additions, and changes. There are 2 primary dialects languages in the scenario that are used between the different characters, Yiddish and Cantonese. This might come up in use when PCs are interacting with NPCs, or even when they're interacting with one another, perhaps in the form of secrets being kept from one another. We got a new facet, which is dancer, flamboyant dancer who loves jazz clubs and speakeasies. You've learned how to buck up for a second wind of partying with the night owls. And that's it. And then some things of note for the players. Most Chinese American characters have heard of Jiangshi, but only Saul Jin, the kosher Chinese butcher, believes they're real. None of the Eastern European Jewish characters know about Jiangshi, but they've heard stories of Eastern European vampires. Ancestor communication magic and Jiangshi fighting magic are real. All other occult magic is fake. The subtitle of this scenario is a joke on the common Yiddish phrase Ashanda fur die Goyim, which means an embarrassment in front of the non-Jews, and typically comes up when someone does something so shameful in public it could make all Jews look bad. Except this time the Shanda is in front of the hopping vampires. Historically, relations between Chinese and Jewish immigrant communities were mostly positive in New York City in the 1920s, as both received discrimination from the dominant culture. Chinese and Jewish immigrant neighbors in the Lower East Side often supported each other's businesses. If you choose to add any major cultural conflict to this scenario, have the Chinese, Jewish, and Chinese-Jewish characters band together against the discrimination of white Anglo-Saxon Protestants. Additional questions for the players. Everyone in the family used to work unpleasant jobs in other parts of the city before taking over the restaurant. Where did you work? I like that. You left other jobs, and you all came together, the family, to do this together. I like that first question. Very, very nice. How did you learn to cook Chinese food? How confident are you in your skills? Are most of your customers Chinese, Jewish, white Anglo-Saxon Protestant, something else? Is your restaurant's food authentic to a particular region in China? A Jewish variant? A white Americanized variant? And then questions for character relationships. So we've got our... Okay, so these are NPCs, I'm assuming, right? Or are you playing dad and uncle? Oh, you are playing. So you're playing dad, you're playing uncle, you're playing grandma and grandpa. Okay, so that's amusing. So two of you are dad and uncle. And then two of you are grandpa and grandma who know nothing about dad and uncle. Okay, that's adorable and hilarious. So these are your characters, and these are questions for the character relationships. Let's see. So dad, Chaim, Charlie. Which family members' opinions about your personal life annoy you the most, and how do you typically respond? Uncle, Fawai or Francis. Which family member has an absurdly incorrect understanding of some aspect of Chinese culture, and how do they keep getting it wrong? Do you usually try to clear it up or just laugh on the inside? Grandpa, Moishe, Morris. Which family member has the smarts to be a great Torah scholar, but would never put in the effort, and how do you typically express this? And Grandma Beryl. Which family member needs to hurry up and become a modern New Yorker, and which steps in the process do you nag them about? And then we've got our NPCs. We've got Saul Jin, Chinese kosher butcher, descended from a Chinese-Jewish family of butchers traceable to the Ming Dynasty and doesn't let you forget it. Respected and liked in the neighborhood, but known for being too superstitious. We've got Rivka Rosenfeld, a bootlegger of hard liquor who stocks a Chinese restaurant's secret request-only drink menu, a widow in her early 30s. Seymour Rosenfeld, Rivka's son, whose bar mitzvah dinner is coming up, shy, grumpy, and doesn't want a bar mitzvah. Yang Wai Shao, owner of the Chinese restaurant the Kontrowitz family now manages. He lives with his wife in the apartment above the restaurant and has been Chaim's friend, and maybe more, since elementary school. Ambitious and trendy, Yang Wai left the food business seeking his fortune manufacturing and selling a popular new toy, the yo-yo. Lam Yin Chao, the wife of Yang Wai Chao. Practical and outspoken, she disapproves of her husband's get-rich-quick scheme and wants him to return to managing the restaurant that brought her parents stability as new immigrants. She now works in the garment district and involves herself in labor organizing behind her husband's back. Hell yeah, queen. Martha Kantrowitz, she, her, Chaim's late wife, died during the recent flu epidemic, now a ghost, had a sarcastic sense of humor, and knew her husband was gay. And Esther and David Kantrowitz, she, her, and he, him. Toddler children of Chaim and his deceased wife, may her memory be a blessing. They call Fawai Uncle. David plays quietly while Esther climbs on everything. Love them, love every single person of every single one of these guys. Plot points, Saul Jin the Butcher has been getting an unusual number of requests for live roosters, a classic Jiangshi repellent. Fawai and Chaim's romance has been heating up, and they've been taking more risks to sneak out on dates or even steal a kiss at home. Chaim's deceased wife often visits him in dreams as a ghost, mostly to make fun of him. Rivka Rosenfeld's son Seymour's bar mitzvah dinner will be held at the restaurant soon. Rivka has been even more persistent than usual about haggling over the price of liquor, which puts the family at some financial risk, though not nearly as much as would terminating the business arrangement. Grandma Beryl believes the family's financial problems would be solved if she could convince Chaim and Rivka to get married. Why are they both so stubborn? Lam Xin Yao tries to convince her husband Yong Wai to take back management of their restaurant from the Kantrowitzes, which would endanger the family's livelihood, but Yong Wai just wants to sell yo-yos. Lam Yin refuses to explain why she hates working in the garment district. Jiangshi are emerging from a portal in the drain of the bathtub where Rivka makes gin, then sneaking all over the city in liquor delivery boxes. Jiangshi are also emerging from drains in the fabric dye areas of textile factories in the garment district. Lam Yin Chao is organizing a protest to force the factory owners to seal the drains. By the end of the scenario, Jiangshi hordes begin to overwhelm New York City. This is except booze portal. Fuck yeah, all caps. This is all so good. It leads to a full Jiangshi overwhelming apocalypse. This is wild. I love it. How much time do we have left? Yes. Okay, we got enough time. I also just saw another. Okay, cool. Yeah, sorry. I thought I saw an alert for something, but never mind. All right, outline of days. Let's go through it because this is so much fun. I have to read through it. Day 1. During the morning, Saul Jin stops by the restaurant to deliver chicken and duck. He mentions he's been getting a lot of orders for live roosters lately and mumbles under his breath that he hopes that doesn't mean what he thinks it means. Only Uncle Fa Wai knows what he thinks it means. Jiangshi trouble. What a superstitious guy. During the afternoon, Yong Wai and Lam Xin Yao stop by for lunch. Yong Wai brags about the yo-yo industry, but Lam Yin tries to convince him to quit now and reclaim this restaurant in front of the entire family. Rude. Yong Wai tries to calm her down by complimenting her textile work in her new job in the garment district. Lam Yin snaps that the garment industry is terrible, then quickly shuts her mouth. If anyone tries to find out what's wrong with the garment industry, Lam Yin changes the subject. During the evening, Fa Wai and Chaim try to sneak out of the restaurant on the week's usual slow night for the romantic date they've been planning all month. Esther tattles to the grandma and grandpa as the lovers are climbing out the window. Day 2. During the morning, before Chaim wakes up, the ghost of his dead wife appears to him in a dream, warning him of grave danger with her usual wisecracks. During the afternoon, Rivka Rosenfeld comes by for 2 reasons: to deliver liquor in unmarked boxes and to renegotiate the price for Seymour's bar mitzvah dinner again, even though it's tomorrow night. She reminds the family how important her liquor deliveries are to their business. Financially, you need this event to go well. During the dead of night, a Jiangshi hops out of one of the liquor boxes and falls asleep in the bathtub. You'll have to deal with this when you wake up. Day 3, morning and afternoon, Jiangshi wrangling before Seymour's bar mitzvah. During the evening, the restaurant is packed with customers for the bar mitzvah dinner. 3 more Jiangshi hop out of liquor boxes and crash the party. During the dead of night, the family consults their ancestors for advice on how to stop the Jiangshi. Whoever they consult tells them to rest up and prepare for a difficult battle, and that the source of those Jiangshi is a portal inside Rivka Rosenfeld's cursed bathtub drain. Day 4. During the morning, afternoon, and evening shifts, the family still has to run the restaurant, so you'll need to decide who stays behind to serve customers and who goes out to find allies and Jiangshi fighting supplies for later tonight. Strongly consider enlisting the help of Saul Jin. During the dead of night, the family goes to Rivka Rosenfeld's apartment. Jiangshi are pouring out of the building, infiltrate the bathroom, which doubles as a liquor production area, and magically seal the bathtub drain. Day 5. The morning is peaceful. During the afternoon, a women's garment worker protest erupts in the street, led by Lam Yin Chao. The protesters are demanding that the factory owners seal the drains in the fabric dye areas because Jiangshi keep climbing out and attacking workers. This has been going on for a week. 2 factory owners try to break up the protest, insisting there's no such thing as Jiangshi. By the evening, Jiangshi hordes from the garment district have spread all throughout lower Manhattan and now begin pouring into the Lower East Side. let the family and their neighbors start fighting them off, but end on a cliffhanger. I love this. I love this. I love this. And that's it. Then it ends like, like leave the story at that, which is a perfect ending. Fucking perfect ending. I just imagine the ending of that scenario is the whole family on like the roof of the restaurant. We're gonna go back. We're gonna go back to my face now because we're basically done with Jiangshi. We have that's it. We are done, folks. We are done. But that was dope. Jiangshi as metaphor for OHS violations. Yes. All of this is so good. I love what like not just the game itself, like what it does and what it's presenting and how it's using working together as a family and backing each other up and having to and the reality of still having to keep a business running and doing all the things that you want to do while while dealing with like these supernatural events and all this stuff. I dig that, but also the adventures that we're seeing, like the directions that people are taking with it. It's so good, so good. Really, I keep saying it. I would like to play this game a few times, not run it, but play it. I would love to like if I ever see anybody running this game at a con, not anybody. I would probably see who was running it. But I would love to play this game to see how it runs and all that. And then after that, yeah, I would definitely love to run it. But I want to see. I want to get a feel for it first. But I do think I could have a lot of fun with some of those scenarios. And it does sound like it can be very one-shotty or very two-shotty. Like it feels a very like two-shotty kind of game. Like two sessions, like one session a couple of days and then the second session for the last few. It feels like that. This is not, I mean, as we saw, like this is not exactly a long campaign kind of game, right? That's not the kind of game this is. But I love it. I really, really enjoy it. And it's weird how much I like it, considering, as I said yesterday, this game, this book especially, breaks so many of my sort of my informal rules for how I want RPGs, tabletop RPGs, taterpugs to be sort of presented and laid out, and the ways that information should be given to the players. But those assumptions are specifically around games that are, because I'm a big fantasy and sci-fi guy, so a lot of tabletop RPGs are also just set in fantastic settings, whether not necessarily fantasy, but you know what I mean, whether it's fantasy or sci-fi, it's not the real world and it's not real world cultures. And so because of that, while there may be a lot of coverage of world history and cultures and all that stuff within the game, you can kind of put that in like here's the culture section, but the primary thing is you're here to play this game, so here's the mechanic, here's the character types you can play, that sort of thing. And then after that, okay, here's all the full details on the settings so you can explore. But with Jiangshi, and I suppose a lot of other games that would take place in the quote-unquote the real world, is that you have to go through the history first. You have to go through the setting first. Like this game spends basically most of the book. Like I said, it's basically like this. Like at this point around here is when you first actually see like proper mechanics in the game. Until then, it's been mostly, yes, there's a lot of discussion and there's a GM section with a lot of good advice and advice on how to run the game, and there's descriptions on the sort of the gameplay itself, the kitchen. Oh, I dropped something on the floor. But yeah, like this whole thing, right? The board, right? There's a whole description of how this works and how the cards are used, and the same thing with the character sheets, all that stuff. But we really don't get to find out how the freaking dice rolling actually works until like 2/3 into the book, which in almost any other game that I've reviewed on these streams, I would decry as a cardinal goddamn sin. I would be throwing shit. Okay, I wouldn't be throwing shit at the wall, but like I get worked up about that stuff. And here, while it's notable, it did strike me as like, because I kept looking at it. So when am I going to learn how to do the thing? I didn't find it that jarring. I didn't find that it was placed wrong. Like it doesn't feel like it's in the wrong place. But also at the same time, it's because this is the kind of game that really does, at least to me, feel like it's worth spending that time and reading through all that stuff, especially if you don't have the cultural not concept, the cultural uh, context. There we go. That's the word I was looking for. The cultural context and historical knowledge and context of the setting that is being done. And so that's why I guess I kind of resonated so much with those last two scenarios from the Haunted Tales book, because one of them was much more modern. Still, still would require, like, the more you know about Chinese American history and and all that, all the better. But the more modern takes makes it a little bit more accessible almost. And the Jewish one at the end, again, also, like, I mean, depends on your familiarity with Jewish history, culture, etc. But I, for one, as somebody who lives in New York, have some familiarity. You can't help it. It just it goes into you through osmosis in this city. So the fact that they are a little bit, step not removed, but it's sort of a step to the side, maybe why I resonated with those. Rather than maybe some of the more traditional ones, where I would need to really sort of take the time to really steep myself more in the history and the culture before I would feel that I'm really getting what that game wants to give me. All that said, I love what the game is offering. You know what? I haven't done this all stream long because the new setup has meant that my buttons are far away. I'm definitely going to have to make some changes, but this game should have gotten a whole bunch of those. Wait, can I? Before you go away. There we go. Oh, no. Wait, let me do it again. Come on, little Dan, go. There we go. Yeah. Little Dan and I are fully in agreement on how. Hey, holy shit! Daniel Anderlick over on the YouTubes, watching live. I'm about to end stream, by the way, friend. But thank you for hanging out. Thank you for coming in. Most of the chats you can see is over on Twitch. I still haven't figured out how to combine the chats on the screen. I'll figure it out later. But yes, it is a lot of fun. So you did play a game. I haven't gotten to play it. I'm sad about that. I want goal for 2025. People, invite me to your games, invite me to your streams, invite me to your podcasts, invite me to your tables. I want to play with everybody. 2025 is my goal. Please, for the love of God, I will play with you. Everyone on chat here, this is a threat. I will play with you. Anyway, folks, look, I need to end the stream. We need to wrap up for now. I'm gonna go ahead and do a snooze on the ads. Just wants to give us the ads, but we are wrapping up. I am not done for the day, however. It is one of those days where I come back after dinner. So, folks, we're wrapping up. This has been Jiangshi. Fuck yeah, really good game. I'm really enjoying the go through it. And I will be back later. Where and when, Phoenix? Anywhere, anytime. I mean, technically, you and I did play. It wasn't like a streamed or anything, but we did do a game. We did that game, and I'm down for more. We'll figure something out. But I do want to be on more. Like, that's one of my big goals for 2025. I want to guest star on things. I want to be on streams. I want to do more stuff. Be more active in these stuffs, and I'm excited for it. Time zones attempting, you might get that invite. Hey, look, I've got nothing but flexibility. I do generally keep to an overall EST time zone because, I live here and I keep pretty regular hours. I go to bed around midnight. I wake up around 7:30. I try and get my 7 hours of sleep and all that. But that said, I got nothing but flexibility. Unless just let me know what schedules you people have, and I can probably flex around that. Especially since I don't currently have a lot of other games. I am hoping to. My goal is to hopefully not be as flexible. I definitely want to fill up my schedule with a whole bunch of other games, and paid GM games and stuff that I want to do. Stop trying to start the ads on me. But for now, I got nothing but flexibility. So, folks, just ping me. In fact, that's a perfect perfect, time to go ahead and tell the bots to did that not work? Did that not work? I hit the button. Are you telling me that's not working? Okay, there we go. There we go. Jesus Christ. Okay, I got scared for a second. Those are my socials. If anybody on chat is not yet following me on one of them, please do, because that's where you'll find out when I'm streaming. My schedule, I will hit the button, but this is not my schedule anymore. That is out of... I'm fixing. I'm changing. Things are changing. Schedules are changing. There will be a lot more stream, but that is the minimum. The minimum that I will stream is that just came up on chat. So keep that in mind. And finally, last thing is I will be back in about 2 hours or so is my expectation. So to play some video games and just kind of chill before bed. So keep an eye on the chats and everything for that. If you've got nothing else going on this evening, I'm more than happy to hang out. What will I be playing? Probably one of those observation duty games. It's easy, it's fun, but we might change my mind. I've got a couple of indie games that I also want to try out, so we'll see what tonight brings. But other than that, I'm off to give my cat some lap time, serve her wet food, serve me my wet foods, and get a little rest before we come back for a little bit more streaming tonight and hangouts. See you all later. As always, thank you everyone on chat for hanging out. Love you all. Thanks so much for the time. See you, if not later tonight, then hopefully tomorrow, because tomorrow is Friday and I'll be working on my games, because I talk a lot of shit about other games, but I do then talk shit about my own games. So that should be exciting. Excited for that tomorrow. But until then, see you later tonight. Goodbye, folks. Where's the end? There we go. I need to change this button. So it always takes me a moment to find the end button. And anyway, as I was...